Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Canon Chatter TV and our slightly more Halloween themed as we move towards the spooky season next week. And I think our season's been spooky enough so far. Monday night, we played Palace, and there was a few scares, a few moments of horror, whatever else links we can make up to go with Halloween. So, do you know
Few
what?
howlers.
Few howlers, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, do you know what? We've a lot to talk about, so I think we will roll the titles and we'll get into it.
Arsenal have gone through an entire league campaign without losing. The first time it's happened.
So, as I say, welcome back to Can Chatter TV with me, Stephen, and tonight we have G back with us after his Sunday night off as you were travelling down to London. How are you, G?
Yeah, I'm good. Looking a little bit different.
Yeah, I was going to say, looking a bit lighter tonight.
Looking a bit light. I said to Stephen, I had a quite heated debate with a fellow Arsenal fan. He was a lawnmower, and I lost that debate. So as you can see, I lost most of my hair. But yeah, no, I'm good, man. I'm good, Stephen. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm looking a bit heavier today with the old beard going on here again. I think I might grow it until Arsenal win, and then I'll shave it off.
You'll look like Santa then.
Yeah, I might do.
Yeah.
Late again, evening guys, evening Lottie. As you can see, Lottie is in the chat but not on the screen. The reason for that is Lottie has got tonsillitis and is feeling very, very under the weather. And the last thing we were going to do was drag her onto the show and make her talk about Arsenal, because that would just make her feel even worse. So Lottie, get well. We need you back for Monday night and for next Friday night for our special Halloween show, which we're all looking forward to. Antonio, greetings all evening. Antonio, how are you? And Jamie, keep it short, G. The blonde won't stand out as much.
Maybe that was the plan all along. You know, who knows?
That's it. You all need to do, as I said to you the other night, get people's phones, take them off them, just log on to their phones, start subscribing on YouTube, help us out. We are on 375 subscriptions, so we still have 625. My math is right. To hit that 1,000. So, bit of work to do. Lottie, thank you, boys. No worries. And hope you feel better, Lottie, from Antonio. I'll get there, Antonio. You two just want to have a wee private chat there. Thank you. Calvin, evening, Calvin. How are you? I'm looking forward to this one, evening. So, and there's Chris as well. Evening, Chris. So yes, as I say, a bit more Halloween theme tonight. Thank you, as always, to Martin from Gunforce Edits for the fantastic overlays he's done. And the background's absolutely amazing. And we thought we'd try and Halloween things up a bit, make it a bit more themed. And thank you to Chris as well, who does our graphics on Twitter, who did our new Halloween themed Twitter logo as well. So yeah, and obviously whenever Christmas comes, we'll do it all again for Christmas. Something special planned next Friday night, so mark it in your diaries. We're going to have a bit of fun. We're going to do something a wee bit different alongside our preview for the Leicester game. So that should be something to look forward to. So Jay, where do we start? Are we going to talk about Palace, or will we talk about something else briefly?
Well, maybe we should go with something else briefly first, because I think
all right.
Once we get stuck into Palace, I'm not sure if there's going to be room for the other brief stuff. So
yeah, do you know what? I'm trying to preserve our friendship as long as possible. So we were starting to argue last night a wee bit on Twitter, weren't we? Or not on Twitter, on WhatsApp, on our wee WhatsApp group.
Yeah, we keep our arguments private, guys. So if we do disagree, we don't air our dirty laundry out on Twitter or anything like that. We keep it.
I don't know how we're going to be able to manage that tonight, though. I
Well,
don't know who'll be able to manage it.
looking forward to that as he takes a sip on his beer.
That's it. Hold my beer. So yeah, well, okay. There is something else I wanted to sort of look at, and that is the news today that Steve Bruce has been relieved of his managerial duties at Newcastle. Not entirely unexpected. I think, once obviously since the takeover, we all knew he was going to be on his way. So, I mean, me and Lottie talked about this on Sunday night. Obviously, the Newcastle takeover. Obviously, you weren't on. So, I mean, first of all, what's your opinions on the Newcastle takeover? We had done a poll, and most people seem to be okay with it. What's your thoughts and feelings?
With regards to the Newcastle thing, I've got to be honest. It's one of those ones where it's like I don't feel as though I can realistically be unhappy with it, because for the sheer fact that when I look at the vast majority of the big clubs in the Premier League, you look at Chelsea, you look at City, and even if you look at the likes of Arsenal, Manchester United, etc., we do all have billionaire owners and foreign owners. Now, I do think there are levels to the ownership, because our billionaire owner does not run us anywhere near the same as Abramovich runs Chelsea, or the Saudis or the Sheikhs run Man City. So I feel as though there needs to be more done in terms of restricting certain billionaire owners or certain companies from outright buying or owning English Premier League teams. But at the same time, when we look at the criteria right now, there's no criteria. There's no real kind of legislation put in place to say, what are the credentials or what are the criteria to be in to being an owner of a football team. And I know, professionals will stand up here and say, oh yeah, but we've got paperwork, we've got legislation. It's all nonsense. At the end of the day, money talks. If you're rich enough to own a Premier League football club, that's the benchmark. Like, I don't care what they say, because I saw something interesting, and it was like there was a dispute over the proposed owners of Newcastle and BN Sports about illegally streaming football in Saudi Arabia or something like that. And the actual headline was something like, they've been able to resolve their issues. And I just thought, yeah, they have, because they've written a check. That's literally what has solved the issues. They've had an issue with the Newcastle owners, which potentially would have put doubt over this takeover. So they've just taken out their checkbook and just said, name your price. And so, all of that's gone away. So for me, I'm not a massive fan of having billionaire owners. I think if we could get rid of all the billionaire owners in terms of running these Premier League sides and go back to how it was before, I would be in favor of that. But the fact is, we have a billionaire owner, United do, City do, Chelsea do, and there are several others. So for me, it's almost like I would feel somewhat hypocritical if I would say, well, on the basis of, they've got this or they've done that, etc., etc. I'm not massively in tune with the politics behind, the so-called accusations of what, this particular group or company or group of individuals are responsible for in terms of like humanitarian rights and so forth. So I'm not really going to talk about that side of it. But, I just think more needs to be done by the Premier League in terms of preventing, billionaire owners coming and actually buying Premier League sides. But right now, it's almost like the way I see it, it's almost from like envious eyes as well. Because really and truly, I have to be honest, would I want somebody to come in with hundreds of billions of pounds and buy Arsenal and run Arsenal like maybe possibly Abramovich runs Chelsea or the Sheikhs run Man City? Yeah, I would. I'm not going to say I would lose any sleep over who they were or how they made their money. So I just think sometimes as fans, we kind of decide when to be kind of moral or when to be ethical. And I just think football it's gone too far the other way in terms of like, trying to say, this takeover is wrong or this takeover is not morally right. I think the Newcastle fans have been through a lot over the last 15 years. And I don't begrudge them, you know, the joy and the happiness that they've experienced during this takeover. Whether or not it will actually, you know, come to fruition in terms of meaning immediate success or success in the near future, there still are doubts. There's a lot of work to be done. First of all, they need to try and stay up. But yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with it because I just feel as though everybody's doing it. So why should we actually sit here and criticize or have a go at Newcastle fans for doing what generally everybody else is doing?
And what do you think then of obviously Steve Bruce getting his marching orders today?
You know what? I do feel for the guy. You know, I honestly do feel for the guy. I like Steve Bruce. Generally as a man, as a guy, he seems like a right, you know, stand-up gentleman. And I just feel as though he was destined to be hated by the fans based on the relationship the fans had with Mike Ashley. So he was Mike Ashley's man. So it was like the relationship between Mike Ashley and the fans was so broken that regardless of whoever that guy appointed, because of his lack of ambition and the lack of kind of funds in terms of trying to, you know, take Newcastle somewhere other than surviving and staying in the Premier League, whoever he brought in was just, it just wasn't going to go well. And I feel as though the owners have come in, and I think we all more or less knew that he was going to get fired. It was just a case of, you know, when and not if. And to be honest, I put up a tweet earlier. I was surprised it took this long. In all honesty, I think they honestly kept him there for the 1000th game, and then just decided, yeah, that's it. We're going to fire him. I think that was the first thing they'd already. I think they decided that before the takeover even had been, you know, signed and sealed. So I do feel for him because I think considering, you know, we talk about hard jobs, and I know we're gonna get onto Arteta later. You know, he's got a tough job on his hands, but boy, being Newcastle manager is no easy task. You know, the squad they have is not great. Let's be honest, and that's putting it lightly. And then with the lack of funds and investment from the owner, you know, they've had a torrid 15 years. You know, so you know it's good for them. But yeah, Steve Bruce, I feel like he's been unfairly treated by the fans. But I can understand why the fans didn't take to him. And even just the kind of world of football and the media, I think it would have been nice. I'm not a Newcastle fan, so it's hard for me to put myself in their shoes. But I think it would have been nice to have given him a little bit longer and see, you know, with a couple of signings in January, with a bit of investment, if he could have actually turned things around. Because even if they bring a new man in now, the guy can't sign anybody till January. So it kind of makes me think, well, you know, really, what is the point in sacking Steve Bruce now? But, you know, they've made a decision, and now whoever they bring in has got equally as tough a job as he had. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously whoever they're going to bring in, it has to be a statement from them.
Yeah.
I know obviously some of the names mentioned, got the likes of Steven Gerrard, Emery's been mentioned.
Yeah.
I've seen Eddie Howe in talks with them, and Fonseca as well. You know, like you, I kind of feel for Bruce, and I don't know if he's done an interview this afternoon where
I've not seen it.
Yeah, he did an interview, and he's basically come out and said that he thinks that's it for him.
Okay.
You know, in terms of management, because you know he doesn't have it in him anymore. When people are saying, you know, he's a fat loser and this sort of thing, and you know, people wanted him to feel, and
he's had it rough.
Take that on board, and it's hard. You know, and I imagine it's hard for any manager. You know, even. And we will come on to Arteta, as you say, later on. But I mean, I imagine no matter how much he says he doesn't read the press and doesn't listen to stuff, I imagine he is hearing the unhappiness of, you know, fans, and he takes it on board. You can't not.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't not. So yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for Bruce, but at the end of the day, you know, as I say, Newcastle have to make a statement. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. You know, will they have somebody in by the weekend? You'd like to think so. You'd like to think that if he's gone today, they basically have someone lined up to come in tomorrow. Otherwise, it kind of doesn't make any sense letting them go.
Yeah.
You know, I think he was well aware of the fact that he was going.
Yeah, he knew it. He knew the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, he knew that. So the fact that he was still even there now, you know, shows the measure of the man, that he was still willing to do the job up until the moment he was let go. So why get rid of them if they haven't someone lined up to come in automatically, straight away? So
I personally feel like they did it to appease the fans. Personally, I'm not sure if they do. Obviously, I think they would have been having discussions with his replacement. But by the looks of it, they're bringing in an interim manager. I can't remember his name, but I think he's already a guy that's working at Newcastle. But I think it was more so to appease the fans. I think even though the takeover went through, I think there was, the fans were getting restless based on the fact that he was still there. And there was so much media coverage of it. Like literally, I think the biggest story other than the takeover, when the takeover was happening, was literally how long has Bruce got left? And it was just so disrespectful. But it's just the way it is, the pressure from fans and the media literally add to that. They really, really do, because that was the story they were running with. Like literally, as soon as the takeover was happening, they were running continuously with this story. How long has he got? Will he make the Tottenham game? Will he get fired before? Will he get fired after? And I'm just like it's not fair, but unfortunately, it's the world of football that we live in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on. We'll read some more of these comments, and then we'll talk about the Palace game, which is, I know, what everybody's tuned in for. To, in the words of Chris, waiting for your 2-hour rant, G, about the Palace game. Tom, evening, Tom. Gio Gunnar, hey guys, good to hear and see you. All the way from Germany, if I remember correctly. Good to have you back with us. Chris, a couple of days later, I predicted with the whole 1000th game. Thing was just a golden handshake, and then he gets the boot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Antonio, my opinion on the takeover, Cronky out. Well said. Evening, Ross. How are you? Mohammed Rashid, that's a new name in the chat, I believe.
I believe so, yeah.
If it is, welcome to the channel. Good to have you with us. Make sure and hit that subscribe button. And while you are all making sure you hit the subscribe button, also take the opportunity now to just hit that like button down there. They all help. Guys, let's talk about the Arsenal manager, and we will very much in detail. G's getting geared up for that. Chris, in a way, the Saudis now rule all sport. You can look at the undisputed fight with Fury versus AJ or Usyk will be held in Saudi. WD tours out there in the end. Money talks, absolutely. Evening, guys. Hope you're all well. Evening, Keith. Hope your ego has recovered slightly from falling up the escalator today. Lottie going to be interesting, whoever they go with. Mohammed saying, hi, Lottie. Do you reckon Newcastle Sheikh will grab Arteta from us, seeing such a fantastic, useful coach with potential to win treble next season? See what you started today, G? Putting up your picture of Arteta's face on a Newcastle jacket.
Did you love the editing skills?
Oh,
world class editing skills right there,
It was, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I had to do it. You know what it was? It happened. The news broke, and I just thought, yeah, I've got to do it. I don't wind up some people on Twitter, so I thought, let me do it. To be fair, it was received quite well.
It was, yeah. No, there was.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna get trolled, but I didn't get trolled once.
Let's do this. Let's get into the Palace game.
Yeah.
Now, I want us to do this the way we used to do it when we first started the show, G. Yeah. So I want us to be objective and talk about the game first.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about the issues after. Yeah.
Cool.
And we'll just go through it sort of bit by bit like we used to do. And then, as I say, we'll sum it up and we'll debate the other stuff after we've done that. So first thing then, as always, the lineup came out. Apologies to Chris, I didn't use your wee graphic tonight for the lineup, but I wanted to bring this one up. I've stolen this completely off Arsenal.com. So thanks, Arsenal.com, if you're watching. There's your credit. So the lineup came out. We had Ramsdale in nets. We had Tomiyasu, White, Gabriel and Tierney across the back, as has been the case for the last few games now. We then had Partey, Odegaard, Saka, Smith Rowe, Pepe and Aubameyang. So it looked essentially like we were lining up as a 4-3-3.
Yeah.
And Then when you actually watched the game, it looked like Odegaard was actually sitting slightly deeper, and it was potentially more the 4-2-3-1. But I'm going to be honest, throughout the whole game, I couldn't actually figure out what shape we were playing. That is one thing I will say. I struggled to see what shape we were playing. But the reason I wanted to use this graphic rather than the normal one we use was I want to look at those subs, first of all. And this, unfortunately, highlights still the issue with our squad. So you have Leno, Holding, Maitland-Niles, Cedric, Tavares, Elneny, Sambi, Martinelli, and Lacazette. Lacazette and Martinelli have the ability to be game changers. But other than that, are you looking at that bench and being excited by it? Because I'm not. And it just goes to show, and we talked about this before, and I mean, you go right back as far as the Liverpool game last season where you and me sat and did a squad review and basically said that about 7, 8 players should stay.
Yeah.
We're still in the same position that we signed players during the summer and we don't have any strength and depth.
Yeah.
So as for the lineup, I mean, how are you feeling when you seen this lineup? What was your thoughts?
To be honest, I can't argue with it. I was pretty happy with the lineup. When I looked at the lineup, I thought to myself, yeah, it's a strong team. It looked more or less similar to, if not the exact same team that started against Spurs. And it was really attacking, I saw that it put in the midfield Partey, Odegaard, and Smith Rowe. And yeah, I was happy. I can't complain. I saw the lineup. I was happy with the goalkeeper, the back four, the midfield, and the three up top. So, as you said about the bench, it was like one of those things where you could argue and say, okay, you could have taken out Odegaard and put Sambi next to Partey, or there could be an argument to play Elneny deep. Give Partey a bit more freedom, but that's neither here nor there. There's subtle differences. But looking at that lineup, for me, he had the selection of a full strength squad, and there was nothing in that lineup that really kind of raised an eyebrow for me or that I was massively concerned about. I thought, you know what, they're all decent players, and I've seen that team absolutely annihilate Spurs. For 45 minutes. So I was really happy with the lineup. I had regardless of how the performance was and what transpired after, obviously the game started, I had no complaints with regards to that lineup at all.
Yeah. I mean, I was the same, and I even seen it across Twitter and all the other social medias. I don't really know that anybody had much of an issue with that lineup.
No.
It was pretty much as attacking as we could go. And, yes, there's question marks over bringing Pepe back in.
Yeah.
That would have been the only thing. But you got to remember, Pepe's still getting, almost 20 goals and assists a season since he's been here. He may not be getting the numbers he was getting in France, but, he's still getting good numbers. It's just the fact that a lot of the rest of his game is useless.
And this is the big debate with Pepe. It literally splits the fan base.
But even at that, I mean, and we'll come on to it, but he had a hand in both goals.
Yep, he did.
So you've got to look at it that way as well. So, yeah, I mean, I was happy enough with the lineup. I couldn't fault it in any way. My only thing with it was I just didn't know what formation we were going to play.
Yeah.
And as I say, having watched the game back, I'm still no wiser as to what formation we were playing.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie, that happens a lot with Arsenal.
Yeah, it does.
In that we seem to switch around and stuff. So yeah, as I say, overall pleased with the lineup. As you say, the lack of strength of depth on the bench just was my concern. Couple of comments quickly before we start into the match. Antonio, got to be true, but glad we didn't lose all 3 points. Some personal errors, absolutely haunting us still. And some players had a quiet night, which also hurts. Still love Lacazette, his tenacity. Absolutely. Chris, I think Odegaard was in the middle, so we could control the ball more with more aggressive attacking play. Keith, I really want 2 up top now, whether it be 4-4-2, 3-5-2, etc. I don't see how we are going to create enough chances with the current personnel otherwise. Yeah, we'll come on to that, Keith. That's something I want to talk about as well. Evening, Georgina. How are you? Chris, the problem we had was when the mistakes happened, those 5 were up the field, so Palace were on to the back 4 with a clear run and goal both times. Antonio, lineup was good. Formation looks solid. We just got lax. ESR was missing. Tomiyasu needs time while he adapts to the Premier League, and we lacked creativity. Yeah, can't really fault that. Say, folks, keep smashing that like button, and thank you to the one person who has unliked. Or giving us a thumbs down. It all counts. So doesn't matter. So yeah, we kicked off, and I mean, we controlled the game. For me, and to me, that's kind of a feature of our season. Is we've started off every game pretty well. I can't remember a game that we didn't really start well. Even if you look at the defeats to like Brentford, Chelsea, and City, we
Even
started
City.
the games
Yep,
well.
even City.
You know, we did. And we'll come on to that later on. There is a potentially lack of confidence, but we started the game well, and I kind of thought to myself, you know what, this could be another Spurs. This could be another 3-0 in the first half.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long. 8 minutes in, Pepe cuts in off the right-hand side. Lovely passes between him and Tomiyasu. Really quick feet. Cuts inside, hits a shot. Keeper saves it, parries it into Aubameyang, who jumps and puts it in the volley from a tight angle. And it was a really good finish from Aubameyang.
Yeah.
And I have to say, I was really impressed with it. And I kind of was thinking Aubameyang's looking like he's back to his old self because he was pressing really hard and really, really getting into the game. What did you make of the goal?
You know what? Like you said, we started the game and I thought to myself, yes, like this is, like you said, we've started games well, but I don't know. This felt different from all the games I've seen. It reminded me of how we started the North London derby. We were hungry, we were pressing, and everything looked tight. Everything looked tidy in terms of our passing, in terms of our build-up play. And when we went 1-0 up, it was just deserved. It was decent play on the right-hand side between Tomiyasu and Pepe, I believe. Whipped in which actually turned out to be a really good save by the Palace goalkeeper. And Aubameyang looked sharp. He looked absolutely sharp. And you know what? I think this season, I'm not saying he's back to his best because I don't think he is. But he's definitely showing signs, of the Aubameyang of old in terms of not so much last season, but the previous seasons, because that was a fantastic finish. He was sharp, it was precise, and I just thought, yeah, here we go. We've scored early, and we're gonna easily roll over this Palace side and get 2, if not 3, before the half time. So I was literally, of the same mindset as yourself, because what I was seeing in front of me is what I want to see from Arsenal on a consistent basis. Yeah, there will be times in games where you can't play with that intensity for the whole 90 minutes. And it's the Premier League. It's very competitive, Teams are going to have their moments in games. But the way we started that game was exactly what Arsenal fans want to see. But it didn't continue, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to give you some idea of how I thought it was going to go, I didn't actually watch the game live, as you know.
Okay, yeah, I remember you saying. Yeah.
I had some stuff going on with the kids and I didn't get a chance to watch the game live. And that's just like I was supposed to be on the Red Cannon that night with Gary. Don't waste the tweet. And my apologies to Gary again if you're watching this back. But I messaged him during the day and just said, listen, I'm not going to get to see the game tonight, probably. It would be wrong of me to come on and try and sort of fudge through an opinion. So I didn't get to see the game live. But when I watched it back, quite often what I do when I watch games back is I'll watch them on ×2.
Yeah.
Because I get very impatient, especially if I haven't been able to look at my phone to see the scores or anything.
Yeah.
I get quite impatient and I'll watch it on ×2. And when I see an incident happen, I'll slow it down again.
Yeah.
But we started so well that I thought, no, this is going to be a really good half of football. This is going to be a really good game. I'm just going to watch this at normal speed, and
Yep.
pushed the phone away and sat there and got myself ready and really was enjoying it. We scored, and probably for another 5-6 minutes after that, we still were on top.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what happened. We just regressed and regressed, and for the rest of the half, really, Palace were on top.
Yep.
In terms of they looked the more attacking threat.
Yep.
I'm not going to say they controlled the game because they didn't. I mean, I know there's a difference of opinion on this, and I know we probably have a difference of opinion on this. I actually don't think Palace were very good. I think they had one tactic, which was give the ball to was it Conor Gallagher? His name?
Yes, the boy that's on loan from Chelsea.
Yeah, it was pretty much give the ball to him and see what he could do.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't a good game. It was a scrappy game. No one was stringing any sort of passes together. The ball was constantly being given away by both teams.
Yeah.
And I think we look at it, because we're Arsenal fans, we're looking at what Arsenal are doing. We're not looking at really what Palace are doing. And we're just assuming that Palace were playing better because we were playing so poor. So, I mean, I don't know why they sat back. I don't know what the mentality was to suddenly sit off. It beggars belief as to why they didn't just keep attacking. And you cannot think, and I don't think for 1 second that that's what Arteta told them to do. Because you could see it in his face after the game. He wasn't happy. He was trying to cover for them, but he wasn't happy. So why are they not? What's happening? Is it a lack of confidence in their ability to play that style of football? Because why are we starting every game well and then drifting out of it and looking scared?
You know what? It's just baffling. It's baffling, and I feel like for Arsenal fans, we're really in a kind of moment of disbelief, or kind of the unknown, in that we don't really know why or the reasons behind these performances, because it actually doesn't make any sense. We start games well. We can literally annihilate Tottenham in the North London derby, and then, like you said, in the first 15-20 minutes against Palace, we literally we could have scored a couple of goals, and you could see the gulf. For me, you could see the gulf in quality between Arsenal and Palace when we played football. You could see it. Like, Palace couldn't live with us in the first 15 minutes or so. And when we scored that goal, nobody could have argued at that point to say we didn't deserve it. And I think if any fan watching that game, or any neutral, would have thought, yeah, Arsenal are going to have fun here. I can see them getting 2, 3, 4 goals before half time, because that's the way the tide of the game was going. And for whatever reason, I honestly don't know what the reason is, but we literally just stopped playing football. We literally stopped playing football. We stopped playing the type of football that was getting us the results in that match. And it just makes you think, like you said, realistically, it can't possibly be Arteta. Because if it is Arteta telling them, oh, we've got to go, sit back, stop playing football, then I don't know why the guy's in a job right now, to be honest. So you've got to look at the players and think to yourself, is it a lack of confidence? But something somewhere is not right. Whether his instructions are getting lost in translation. And I don't mean he's speaking another language, but he's obviously telling them to do one thing, and then it's a case of them not having the belief to do it, or them not having the ability to do it. But it just makes you wonder, like, what is the issue? Because for the first 15 minutes, we bossed the game. Absolutely bossed the game. And I thought to myself, we're looking at a comfortable 2-3, 4-0 win here, And as soon as we took our foot off the gas, for whatever reason, you could see Crystal Palace growing in confidence. And for the second half of the first half, they were the better side. And it wasn't necessarily, like you said, it wasn't necessarily that they were playing fantastic football, but, we basically invited, you know, we kind of gave them possession of the ball. We gave them time on the ball. They could build. And at the end of the day, this is the Premier League, and they have players, despite not having Zaha, despite not having Eze or whatever, they still have players that can hurt us. You know, they still can. And I said, when I looked at the lineups and, you know, Arsenal fans were really confident, I said, don't write off Palace. I looked at Benteke and I looked at Edouard, and I could see a potential issue here because they're both very physical players. And I think if Arsenal, even with Gabriel at the back there, I think if Arsenal have one kind of kryptonite, I would say, it's when we come up against, for me, very physical players. And I saw the two of them, and I thought we could be in trouble here. And obviously, you know, the two of them scored on the night, but it just begs us to believe like what goes through the players' minds, or what's happening. My concern was that despite halftime, I think we were fortunate to then go into halftime at 1-0 up because I think Ramsdale put in a couple of good saves. But my concern, Stephen, was that nothing changed after halftime. That was my concern, because I thought, you know what, we've got the goal. We're a bit fortunate to go into the halftime without conceding. Arteta's going to get these lads into the dressing room, and they're going to come out how they did in the first half. But to be honest, I didn't even see a reaction. And I don't know whether that was because we didn't actually concede. So the fact that we didn't concede, the team talk would have been, you know, a very different maybe conversation had we conceded before halftime. But I think you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out that the tide of the game had shifted from us to them. And I just thought, you know, they really needed the hairdryer treatment at halftime, because all Arsenal fans watching that game could see the game slowly slipping away from us. But yet they came out in the second half and we saw more of the same that we did in the latter of the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. And I say, I'm not saying this as a, you know, I'm very much on the fence about Arteta. So I'm not an Arteta and I'm not an Arteta. But, you know, for me, so much of that first half was on the players. There definitely, for me, there's some issue with the confidence and that they can't play in that way. The other issue I had was the fact that you know, they couldn't string 3 or 4 passes together.
Not at all.
You know, but at the same time, and this is where I go back to the fact that, you know, we're looking at it as Arsenal fans and we're very much picking on the Arsenal performance and accepting that the Palace were playing better. But Palace weren't exactly stringing a lot of passes together. The biggest difference between Arsenal and Palace in the first half, because Palace were very one-dimensional, as I've already said, taking everything through Conor Gallagher. The biggest difference was the Crystal Palace players were just stretching their foot out that wee bit more when there was a misplaced pass, the intercept. And that was my issue, was the fact that Arsenal players just didn't seem to be willing to put that wee bit of extra stretch in. Because there was a number of times... Yeah, there was a number of times that the balls were going, you know, there were misplaced passes by Palace players. And I'm looking at it and it's brushing past the edge of an Arsenal player. And I'm like, all you had to do was stick your foot out that little bit extra and you would have got that. And we could have been away. So that was a concern. So yeah, it was a strange first half and I don't know why that's happening. So I'll read some more of these comments and then there's another incident I want to look at in the first half. So wow, loads of comments flying in.
I think Ronaldo has just saved Ollie's job. 3-2 up now.
Okay. Where have we got to? So Georgina, loving the Halloween background to you guys. Thank you, Georgina. Chris didn't like G's new hair. He's obviously referring to the thumbs down, I think. Tony, how are you? Evening, Stephen G. Loving the fresh trim G. Homage to Laka.
Cheers,
Keith, great shout G. As for the other G, smooth brother, fresh cut. Calvin, a great lineup, started well to flow into a cookie cutter performance we have seen all too often. Absolutely. Feel the players give all they could and felt desire. I now feel the players are trying to play a certain way too hard, overcoached. Potentially. potentially could be the reason. Mohamed Arteta had Arsenal preparing for the opening 7 minutes of each half. We got our goal from the good pressure early on, then went to sleep as was expected. We also started second half well, but only for 5 minutes. Tom hitting a thumbs down is just rude. This is a great show. Thank you, we appreciate that. But you know what? They all count, so I'm not really that bothered. Don't get me wrong, we prefer it when you hit the like button. But Keith, agreeing with you there. Antonio, thumbs down. Seriously, when you got haters, you're definitely doing something right. Keep at it, crew. Thank you. Calvin McGuire equalised. Gary, good evening. Stephen and G in chat room. Ollie in for now. LOL. Gary, you joined just a couple of minutes too late. I was just apologising for missing your show on Monday night. But as I've promised, I will be doing the Villa one with you next Monday. Arteta's game plan seems to have 10 to 15 minutes shelf life. At least that's how the team played. Keith, we got to ask why we hit the ground running, then drop off only to pick it up again when we're behind. Calvin, is it that we start well or they just start slow? Even if we don't score, we back off. I think it's that we start well, just to answer that, because, I mean, as I say, it's every game. And as I say, even against City and Chelsea and stuff, it was the same thing. Chris, I think the bigger worry is that when it starts going wrong, we don't seem to be able to raise our game back up to the level of the first 15 to 20 minutes. Gary, 10 to 15 minutes shelf life. Keith, also a big problem with Arteta repeatedly, you have a big problem with Arteta repeatedly saying his game plan isn't being followed. Yes, agree, he's the boss. Wow, so many comments tonight. Mikel Arteta is losing the room if 24 of his players are not following his plan. Yeah, it's I don't know what to say on that one. You know, I don't want to think he's losing the dressing room, but there is that potential.
I don't feel like he is. You know, I have my opinions on Arteta and I've got my opinions on the Arsenal players, but I don't see it being that. I see that the problem at Arsenal, I don't feel it's that the players don't play for him. At this point, I don't share that opinion. I can imagine that other people do, but I just feel like when I see, like, you know, a Lacazette coming on, you know, with 15, 20 minutes to go and put in a shift that he's put in, and then you see the passion of the players, you know, in scoring that goal. And just if you just look at the North London derby performance, you know, I think that's the only performance really for me that's kind of giving me a glimmer of hope for the rest of the season. Because, you know, regardless of whether we look at Tottenham being, you know, tactically all over the place, listen, Tottenham are a decent side, you know, dare I say it, but they're a decent side. They've got some quality players and we literally annihilated them, you know, and even when we took our foot off the gas in the second half, we were comfortable. So we have that type of performance in us, and the players, I believe, do still in glimpses and periods of the game really perform well. I think just something's not quite clicking. And that's where my kind of concern is. But I wouldn't necessarily say he's lost the dressing room at this point.
Okay. Calvin, too many times we were moving forwards to then take our own momentum away with a cutback. This with any number of names. And any number of games as well. You know, it's quite often the way with us. I believe they are following Mikel Arteta's plan. Gary, Ollie has secured his job for a bit, 3-2 leaders. Chris, how many times we see Arsenal go 1-0 up and then sit back and end up allowing the opponent onto us and losing the game 2-1? Calvin, Ronaldo saves the day. Gary, how many times have we seen Arsenal follow the plan for 10 to 15 minutes at the start of the match, then forget the plan? Yeah, and I mean that's what we're highlighting, the fact that all too often we start off well and then seem to either forget the plan or lose confidence in our ability to play that way. This was inherent under Wenger too, Chris. Been going on for a long time now. Calvin saying that Gary, maybe the reverse, it takes them 10 to 15 minutes until they get into the plan. Years ago, I assume Arsenal got paid for touches in the box without shooting. Now it's cut back. Mike, Palace play on the counter, waiting for us to make mistakes. They did, yeah. And as I say, their counter every time was give the ball to Conor Gallagher and hope for the best. Gary saying, "Oh no," to Calvin. And then to Mike, that approach is why United's reign ended. Teams just waited for us to start the counter. If we look at the North London Derby as proof the team has it in them, then are they downing tools for other matches? Who's at fault? Yeah, that's a difficult one, because why can we do it in the North London Derby? For the first 45 minutes of the second half,
This is the thing.
we weren't good against Spurs. But the first half, we had that confidence.
This is the thing.
So what happened?
And it's strange because it's like you don't necessarily, with form, you don't necessarily, relate that to turning it on and off like a switch. Generally, if a team's in good form, they're in good form. Or if they're, in a bad patch with a, run of games, that kind of happens. And sometimes it will take, a game or a result to kind of turn that around. But we like Jekyll and Hyde. It's like we can go from playing like that first half against Spurs was one of the best first halves I've seen like for a long time. And I just thought at that point, as much as, even though if you remember after the North London Derby, I still wasn't completely convinced. I was really happy, but I was a bit like, I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure if this is the Arsenal side that we're going to see more on a consistent basis. But that was a fantastic first half of football. But it's almost like there is a switch, and whatever the reason is behind that, that's the $1 million question, is understanding how we can go from playing such fantastic football to look like we don't know how to play football. And, I don't. We can't answer that question, and to be honest, I'm not sure if Arteta or the players even know the answers to that question themselves.
So Keith, agreeing with you, doesn't think that he's lost the dressing room. Just mystified at how many times the plan hasn't been followed. Maybe it's the average age of the squad. That's another thing. I mean, we do need some sort of more senior players. Chris, can we really blame Arteta for individual errors on the pitch? He can put out the best tactics going, but if Partey or someone else then loses the ball leading to a goal, how is that Arteta's fault?
Yeah,
that's a fair question. Mohamed, Arsenal best performance whole season came only 30 minutes against Spurs. Gary saying, Chris, so does one mistake mean the entire system breaks down? Is that a fragile system? And Calvin, not blaming Mikel Arteta for individual errors, but he has to be able to orchestrate the team balance live. He looks like a defensive coach. And agrees with Mohamed, 30 to 35 minutes for the first half, obviously. So yeah, listen, we could talk about that all night, and we will talk about it a wee bit more once we finish going over the match. But as I say, there was something else happening in the first half, and this one, to be honest with you, when this happened, I was, and you obviously know what we're about to talk about, I was surprised that not that VAR weren't investigating, that Scotland Yard weren't investigating, because quite honestly, this tackle from MacArthur was assault. He had no intention of playing the ball. He's not even looking. He's looking exactly where he's kicking, and he absolutely went through the back of Saka. How this was not a red card, I will never know. Mike Dean should not be allowed to referee football matches. Thoughts?
You know what? It's got to the point where it's like I'm just bored and almost kind of like desensitized to the crap officiating and refereeing that we have in this Premier League. I don't understand how the best league in Europe, in the world, with all the billions of pounds it's worth and the absolute phenomenal football that's played, that we can actually have, not only referees not, judging this to be a foul or a red card, but to then have a video assisted like tool or whatever you want to call it, then not be able to identify this as a red card. It's just beyond me. It literally is beyond me. And when this happened, I said to my son, I said, if I'd done that down the street, I'd have a criminal record. I'd get arrested for assault, and I'd have a criminal record, and I'd have to have my day in court. you know, where they would basically, you know, say I'm innocent or guilty. And to be fair, I wouldn't even go to court because I just take the guilty plea, take the fine or the community service or whatever it is, and just keep it moving. So how this has been allowed to happen on a football pitch and it not be, you know, given a red card, I just have no words, you know. I just have no words. And what's even more interesting and what's even more ridiculous about this is that since it's happened, you know, the Premier League or the FA have not actually taken action. So even if this is one been missed by the referee, missed by VAR, we've seen the FA and the Premier League, they take action when there are incidents on the pitch that risk or endanger, you know, a player's health through injury, etc., etc. We've seen them take action. We've seen them intensify, you know, bans. We've seen them, you know, give bans or fines or whatever where there wasn't. But yet, silence. Literally silence. Like, you would struggle to actually find another incident this bad in a very, very long time on a football pitch, definitely in the Premier League. You would really, really struggle. As you said, he literally just boots the back of Saka's leg to the point where he can't even continue. And from what I've heard, he's not even taken part in training today with the Arsenal squad. It's disgusting. It's embarrassing. And I don't understand in the year 2021, in the quality of the Premier League, that we still have refereeing and officiating of this standard. It's an absolute joke. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if you look at that is potentially career-threatening injury he could cause there.
Yeah,
you know, he could have shattered his leg. Absolute disgrace. And you're right in what you're saying. You know, the standard of refereeing. And I said this last season. You know, so many times we had to talk about VAR. It's an absolute disgrace, as you say, that a league, the best league in the world, does not have full-time professional referees.
It's just madness.
And I'll be honest with you, if they had full-time professional referees, I don't think there's a single one of the current Premier League referees would make the cut.
Nah.
And that's not just, I know we like to think we get the worst of it. And we probably do. But there are other clubs and other matches I've seen where there's been incidents that, you know, you just look at and you go, how can that not be given? You know, how are they getting away with these things? The standard of officiating in this country it's a joke.
The craziest thing was that he had a perfect view on it as well.
Yeah,
he was
line of sight.
He was literally right there, like literally, and he missed it. And then I could see a comment there, which I also knew, which was, you know, there's a rumor or investigation going on. I think it's from the Mr. Arsenal podcast. It says that Mike Dean, because he was apparently refused to listen to the ref in charge of VAR, you know, and if that's the case, then do you know what I mean? Like, that guy should not be, you know, reffing any football games in a long time. But yeah, it just makes you wonder, innit? You know what I mean? It's like you've got a young kid there, do you know what I mean? And he's just been absolutely taken out by an opposition player, you know. And like you said, you know, he couldn't continue. That could have been a very serious injury. And all now, whether they're investigating or not, like, for me, if you're investigating, by all means investigate. But action, I want to see action. That needs to be upgraded to a red card, and he needs to get a 3-match ban minimum. You know, so that's what we want to see, and that's what I've seen.
Mike Dean.
Yeah, and the thing is, this is what we've seen. We've seen the FA and the Premier League do this. We've seen them come out and take this type of action. So they're capable of it. They have all the power. You know, they wield the power. They can do this, but yet they've somehow missed this. You know, I don't know how, because it's literally gone viral all over the internet, but they've somehow missed this incident, and, you know, this player's not been punished. And it's just ridiculous. It really is.
Well, they can't have missed it because it'll be in the VAR officials' match report. That's the thing.
They've chosen to ignore it.
You know, they're choosing to ignore it. And the thing, I mean, After the game was over, I did something I don't often do, which is I continued listening to the punditry. I generally don't listen because I'm not a fan of like Jimmy Carragher and stuff. But Jimmy Carragher actually said, he can see it, we can see it, Arteta can see it, the VAR officials can see it. So he actually stated the VAR seen it and said it should be overturned. Now, we know that because we know that those guys in the commentary positions and in the studios, they actually get to hear what is happening with VAR. They can hear that conversation between VAR and the ref. So they know for a fact that VAR have said that should be overturned. And yet Mike Dean has refused to take it on board. So what's the point in VAR? If VAR is saying there is an obvious error and the referee is going, no, I don't think so.
Then what's the point of it?
VAR? And it worries me as well because we do have, I don't know if you've seen, it's Craig Pawson is referee against Villa, and Michael Oliver is in Stockley Park on VAR. Another two referees who are laughable. So yeah, an absolute disgrace. That's how we read some of these comments here. The remaining minutes would have manager sacked if his name wasn't Arteta. I can clearly see which way Mohammed's leaning in terms of Arteta in and out. Calvin, Mike Dean, inquiry needed.
Crystal Palace player is playing. I mean, he's playing UFC. He's not playing football.
Yeah. Worst about it is should have received a yellow before. I'm with G. Tired of bad officiating. Seen better in Sunday football. Good to see you, boys. Good to see you, Dan. How are you? Gary MacArthur must be shot with his eyes shut. And if so, isn't that dangerous play? Louise got a red for tapping a toe. So lucky Saka's studs weren't planted. And as for Dean refusing to look at the replay after VAR asked him to, disgraceful. Keith, Calvin, David Luiz brushes studs. Yeah, I mean, literally, the attacker, was it Jimenez?
For Wolves, I think it was,
his studs came up and touched David Luiz's knee.
Got a red card.
And gets a red card. Absolute joke. Ryan, how are you, Ryan?
There's just no consistency in it.
Yeah. The Premier League are investigating Mike Dean because he apparently refused to listen to the ref in charge of VAR. Mohammed, people blaming Mike Dean for a draw, a victim mentality. Palace outplayed us and deserve to win. Refereeing decisions may or may not favour us, so we can't rely on that. Yeah, absolutely. And I listen, I'm not for 1 second trying to use this as an excuse for why we didn't win this game.
100%.
I don't agree that Palace outplayed us. I don't think they did. And I say I'm not blaming Mike Dean. I'm simply saying that was a disgraceful challenge. He should have been sent off. And it could and potentially would have had a difference in the outcome of the game. So, my issue is that if the referees are there to enforce the laws of the game to make it fair, yes, you get an advantage if the player is sent off, but it's a deserved advantage because the other team are cheating. So hopefully Premier League is investigating and provided a red card to the Crystal Palace player. Yeah, I mean, I hope so too, but I can't see it. As I say, it'll have been in the match report from the VAR official. So the fact that nothing has been done, because it could have been done by now, shows that the FA and the Premier League are choosing to ignore it. Jamie, only a few weeks back, that Henry Lansbury did something similar and only got a yellow, and he ran in from distance on the Swansea player. Calvin Mohammed, we should be winning this game in spite of that incident, but we were getting fouled all over the place. It does have an effect. No victims here. Gary, so in the past when we started, maybe the VAR officials are ignored by head officials. We weren't paranoid. Then Saka injured. What would you boys prefer to see? Friday Lukonga in Odegaard back to 10 role, or Laka given an opportunity in 10? I think that's where he played when he came on Monday, or him centre forward or out wide. But we'll come on to that after when we'll look at the Villa game. Consistently inconsistent definition of Premier League officiating. Gary, that is 100% spot on. 100%. Consistently literally inconsistent. Ryan, what is more concerning is that they are saying he's been investigated for his actions, but still haven't done anything themselves in terms of retrospection. retrospective action to MacArthur.
Yeah.
And as I say, I don't think they will. I genuinely don't think anything's going to happen. NW30 TV, evening, how are you? Good evening all. Palace were much better. Stevie Wonder could see it was a red. Vieira in. I stand by the fact that I don't think Palace were much better. Stevie Wonder could have seen it was a red card, absolutely. And Vieira in, never, ever, 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 ever. And once more, ever.
Yeah. For me, Palace were the better side, in my opinion. I reckon, Stevie Wonder would definitely seen that was a red. But with regards Vieira in, I understand why some Arsenal fans want that. But for me, I do agree with Stephen in that I really don't like the thought of an Arsenal legend coming to the club and managing, because what are the chances that it's going to go well to the extent where, he's going to build a legacy and stay at the club, 20, 25, 30 years. And even there, the great Arsene Wenger, gave 22 years of his life, to Arsenal Football Club, and look at the circumstances when he left. So, yeah, for me, I wish Vieira all the best, but not to say like if he did become Arsenal manager, there's nothing I can do about it. I can have an opinion, but it is what it is. But I prefer to not have an Arsenal legend at Arsenal managing the team.
Yeah, that's my thoughts. I mean, just to clarify, I love Patrick Vieira. I was lucky enough to be old enough to remember watching him play, and absolutely adored him as a player. I still to this day have the utmost respect for the man. But you look at how we are with Arteta, who is an ex-player but by no means a club legend, and look at how things are going and how the fans are getting at him, rightly or wrongly so. But I don't want to see that from a club legend. I don't want to see someone like Patrick Vieira or Thierry Henry come in. And I said this the other night. I just don't want to see them get that from our fans.
You just got to look at the Chelsea situation with Lampard.
Yeah.
I think as Arsenal fans, from my opinion, I could look at that from a neutral perspective, and I personally feel like he was treated badly. Obviously, Tuchel came in, and that's just the Abramovich way. If you don't get results, they kick you out the door. But personally, I thought he wasn't treated fairly. He wasn't given enough time. But when you just think about that, like, bringing in a legend, I can understand the emotional attachment, etc., but it very, very seldom goes well. And I just think the legacy Vieira has at the club, I just want to see that remain intact.
Yeah. Okay. So just to clarify there for Gary, ever. Calvin, it would be somewhat amusing the issue in assault charges. To my knowledge, the law still applies even during a game of football. And Mohammed, are you guys going to talk about the fact that Arteta is forcing Lokonga and Odegaard to play Xhaka role, or having them cover left centre back in possession? We always get outnumbered in the mid with Partey.
We're going to be talking about Arteta in a minute.
Sorry?
I said we're going to be talking plenty about Arteta soon.
Yeah. NW30 TV, I'm joking about Vieira coming in, but Arteta is now getting stale. Per tactics and motivation with Palace, you could see they had tactics, game plan, and could play. And again, I'm going to come back to their tactics for give the ball to Conor Gallagher. That's okay because the club owners lack ambition. No chance of Vieira coming in. Yeah, and do you know what? The biggest issue we have as a club is that our fans have more ambition than our owners. And until that changes, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
Oh, goody, Arteta chat. Dee's hair saw the match and ran and hid.
I'm telling you, you know what? One of the main reasons why I cut my hair is because of the greys coming through, and I put that down to Arsenal. Too many greys watching this team play over the last couple of seasons.
Unfortunately, you can't really see it on the camera, but I'm getting like grey lines down here in my beard.
Yes.
So yeah, that incident obviously with with Saka meant that he couldn't continue. And he was out for the second half. So Lokonga came on to play alongside Partey in midfield. And for someone had said earlier on, for the first 5 minutes, I do think we improved. I do think it was slightly better. But then obviously, Thomas Partey makes a mistake, shall we say? I mean, what was your feelings on this? Because obviously it leads to the goal. I mean, can you blame Partey for it? Do you think it was just unlucky? I mean, what was your feelings around this?
Partey is one of those players that, unlike some Arsenal fans who will generally kind of just slate a player and just say, you know what, he's crap. I don't know why we bought him, etc. I can't sit here and be a hypocrite and say that. I just can't. And I've said it many times about Pepe, and I've said it many times about Partey. I was absolutely thrilled when we made that end of last day of the transfer window signing of Partey. I watched Partey play for Atletico Madrid. I watched Partey play for Ghana at the international level. And when we bought Partey, I honestly believe that we were buying, an absolute beast of a baller in terms of a footballer. And for whatever reason, it's not worked out in the first season. He came in, and for a guy who's had a near perfect injury record, he seemed like, he just had to get touched, and, he got an injury. So his first season weren't great, because he couldn't string, more than 3 or 4 games together before he was on the sidelines, before he got injured. So I think as Arsenal fans, we kind of held up our hands and said, you know what, at the end of the day, there was a lot of talk about he's a waste of money, he's this, he's that. I didn't jump on that bandwagon because for me, I don't think he was a waste of money. I think he was a top draw central midfielder. And in terms of central midfielders who are available in the market, and I honestly felt like we would have been outpriced. I didn't think he was, because of our owners, I didn't think he was, the price range that we were looking at, 50 million euros. Nevertheless, we coughed up the money, we got the release clause, we bought him. But this season, I've seen glimpses of Partey. He's I think when you watch him, I think you can tell he's a quality player. And I think our midfield, regardless of what people might say in terms of his form, if he's not in our midfield, we have no midfield. Like literally, as bad as some of his performances have been, and regardless with the mistake that he made against Crystal Palace, I'm much more in favour of an Arsenal side with Partey in it than an Arsenal side without Partey, because for me, he's our best central midfielder. I just feel that a lot of our Arsenal players are suffering from a lack of confidence. I feel like a lot of them are kind of struggling with, I don't know whether it's the pace of the Premier League, because there's kind of several arguments why Partey could be struggling. And, I saw this argument somewhere the other day, and it said something along the lines of not everybody's built for the Premier League. Now, I'm not at that stage with Partey. I'm really not, but it's an argument. It's a fair point. Is he going to be able to transition the form that he had for Atletico Madrid into the Premier League? Only time will tell. I think with regards this incident, I think he was a little bit unlucky. I wouldn't necessarily say it was an out-and-out mistake. I think the ball came to him quickly, and Crystal Palace were pressing us, and they nipped in. You could even argue it was potentially a foul, and obviously they got the ball and they put it in the net. But overall, with regards to Partey, I have to be honest, like I am starting to feel somewhat underwhelmed and let down by his performances, in that I feel as though, just like Arsenal, in glimpses, in moments, he looks a fantastic player. He can shimmy past 2-3 men and play a lovely ball. Against Spurs, he was literally one of the contenders for man of the match. Had a fantastic game. you know, pinging balls all over the field. I think he had the most interceptions. He was just phenomenal. But I just feel as though these players are very much, you know, well, it makes sense, you know. We're so, as a club, our performances are hot and cold, and that's because our players' performances are hot or cold. So it kind of makes sense. I think at the moment we're not seeing a consistently good Partey. We're seeing glimpses of what is a fantastic player, and then we're also seeing moments of, you know, error, or because this incident is not the only incident where I've seen Partey misplace quite easy passes. You know, it's happening from game to game where you see that there's the odd loose pass or the odd loose ball, but he's not necessarily got punished for it. Whereas I think with this one, it wasn't necessarily like a blatant mistake on his part, but obviously it's highlighted because Crystal Palace went to the other end and actually scored a goal. But I've actually seen evidence of this type of play in him in the previous games where, you know, he has misplaced what seems to be simple passes. So I just think Partey, his performances in an Arsenal shirt so far this season have just been inconsistent. And I think that just, you know, relates back to the whole Arsenal team in that, you know, you see a Aubameyang who looks completely up for it, you know, chasing down everything that moves, scoring goals, to an Aubameyang that, you know, looks half asleep. And I think the same could be said for Partey, can be said for Odegaard. And there's so many other players in this Arsenal team. So I'm not gonna jump on the bandwagon and be like, you know, Partey's crap, he needs to leave, we need to sell him, etc., etc. Because I think he's a quality player, and I'm gonna stay, you know, I'm gonna stay faithful to that opinion for as long as I can. But I have to admit, this season I am beginning to become more frustrated with his inconsistency.
Yeah, and to be fair, just on that, Benteke took his goal well.
Yeah, he did.
You know, I have to say he took his goal well.
He did.
So let's read a couple of these comments before we move on. Where we got to. Keith having a good laugh at Gary's comment about your hair. Calvin, other more tasty beers are available that don't turn hair grey. Yes, but I like my Guinness. And what are you drinking?
Bud.
Oh, that's not beer. That's piss water.
It's Bud. You know I'm not a big beer man, innit? So
got a wee umbrella on the top of that. Sparkler. Chris, for me, Vieira or Henry would be no better than Arteta. They haven't exactly done any better during their manager career. I think with either we would be in the same position we are now. Hard to argue differently from that, Chris. Mohammed, we don't have the luxury of changing coaches like United and Chelsea. If we sack Arteta tomorrow, we should go for Eric Ten Hag. Yeah, and we'll come on to that because I do want to touch on that, as I say, when we finish talking about this match, which we need to sort of speed up a bit. NW 30, why did Arteta play Saka on the left? Really baffling, as we all know he is more effective on the right, because Pepe is more effective on the right as well. And unfortunately, like it or not, Pepe has provided more goals and assists than Saka over the last 2 seasons. So, Party on the ground, I don't hate much, but I hate that look from Gary. The fact that both Party and his backup Sambi were a bit loose on the ball. Not sure how to finish this statement. On Party error, any other player with how we were pressed, it would also happen. Arsenal invite this press, and it's the worst kept secret to press us to get the opportunity. Yeah, fair play, Calvin. Mohammed, Party was fouled. Yes, he was rushed into making the poor pass, but he was fouled on the follow through. He is our best player by far. Without him, we are bottom half club, potentially. In terms of it being a foul, I'm going to be honest, I still can't make my mind up.
It's a 50-50.
Watched it back.
Yeah.
When it happened at the time, I was screaming, that's a foul.
Yeah.
But when I watched it back, I was like, no, maybe not. Then I watched it again. No, it is. I can't make my mind up. I really can't. But that's why I'm not a professional referee. Chris, Party hasn't impressed me. He's not as commanding in the middle as we thought he might be. Calvin, I also felt that was a foul, Mohammed. Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's a tough one. It really is. Mike saying not all contact is a foul. Gary, the way Ramsdale seems to command the box, I thought Party would do the same, missing leadership on the pitch. Yeah, I mean, I thought the same. I thought Party was going to come in and be sort of stamp as authority and be that sort of player, but he doesn't. He seems to actually be quite quiet.
Yeah.
And he's not the sort of player I actually thought. And I had watched him a few times for Madrid, but obviously not close enough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's the thing. I hadn't watched him close enough. So he isn't quite the player I thought. I also don't think he's a defensive midfielder.
No, he's not.
And that's the
He's
thing.
not.
You know, I said this, and I said this from the moment we signed him. For me, he's more box to box. He's not a defensive midfielder.
He needs a partner.
Yeah.
He
So
needs a
being asked
DM
to
in
sort of
there.
play that holding player in a 3, I don't think it suits him.
No.
You blame Party for one mistake, that's questionable. We probably deserve 34. No, we don't deserve 34. We really don't. But this comes back to what I've said. We should have signed in another central midfielder in the summer.
Yeah.
You know, we should have got the likes of Bruno Ramirez. You know, he would have been a difference maker to the squad. Tom, someone should have just shouted "man on." It's what we did back in the old school days.
Man on, yeah, and the
Absolutely.
playground.
Haha, piss water. Yeah, it is.
It's nice.
Even professional referees don't seem to be professional, right? Well, as I say, we don't have professional referees in the English game, and if we did, as I said, none of them would make the cut. How would you feel about referees coming in from other countries?
I don't mind at all. For me, like, yeah, I don't have an issue with it. Having watched like football around Europe, I don't feel as though they have the same kind of controversial, incidents and issues that we do. But again, that could be just because I'm watching a snippet of La Liga or a snippet of Serie A or the French league. So it's kind of hard to judge, but I would be more than happy for foreign referees to come into the Premier League. And I just want professional refs. And I just want the standard of officiating to improve. And whether that be English refs, foreign refs, like from South America, Africa, I couldn't care less where they come from. I just want the officiating to improve because, what we're seeing, it just seems as though it's getting worse. We're talking about like decisions last season with the whole David Luiz and so forth. But, that Saka one against Palace, it's almost like taking poor decision or poor officiating to a whole new level. And I do feel like as fans, we're kind of getting a little bit desensitized to it. Because as bad as that decision was, I wasn't like completely outraged. I was just like, I was initially annoyed, like red card, like what's going on? And then quickly after, I was just like, oh, yeah, same old, got it wrong. So,
yeah, in terms of going out and getting referees from other countries, for me, the Premier League is a product. So, the Premier League is run as a business. It's a product that they're selling around the world.
Yeah.
So, in order to have the best product, you have to have the best players. You have to have the best TV coverage. You have to have the best referees. So they expect clubs to go out and spend the money on bringing in top quality talent from around the world. Yeah. So why did the Premier League not want to go out and invest in bringing the top referees to make their product more sellable?
Yeah. Don't know.
That's kind of my take on it. Chris, I think Partey, because he's our best midfielder, doesn't get as slated as others. I can think of a player who, if he had done the same mistake, would have got all sorts of abuse. Mohammed, to give you an idea of what's wrong, is there any outfield player that's having a good season for us? It's a no. That's totally on the setup. Then it's on the players. Okay, we'll come back to that. Calvin, I'm still liking Partey. Yeah, I mean, I still like him as well. I just don't think
quality player, man.
He's not the player we thought. Just he may well still, up his game. Mike, refs in the Premier League have been pro since 2001. If that's the case, I apologise. I didn't think they were professional. They're certainly not full time, but they may be classed as professional then. But I certainly don't think they're full time referees. And if they are, they need to look at the criteria to be a referee, a full time professional referee. NWB30 poor decisions get people talking, makes our league more dramatic than others. It does, but it also spoils the game. because there's no consistency.
Yeah.
Well, I can't pronounce his name. Your man there got away from with the same thing. Mihailovic,
Yeah.
I think it is, got away with the same thing on Aubameyang as Saka got booked for. Yeah, I mean, again, inconsistency. So listen, let's move on because there is still a wee bit more to talk about in the match, and then obviously we need to talk about, is it Arteta, is it the players, was it the ref, was it Palace being better? So they obviously scored again, and this time it was Sambi give the ball away. Edouard got the ball, ran down, and scored. Now, for me, I have serious issues with this, in that we spent £50 million on Ben White, and he doesn't try to tackle. He just backed away, and you're going to do that against someone the quality of Hudson Edouard, you're going to get punished. I just cannot understand why he didn't tackle. What was your thoughts when you seen this?
Yeah, obviously it's not great because obviously Sambi. I'm not gonna slate the kid, because I have my views on the whole relying on our young players. I put it in a tweet, the other day, in terms of all the things that I see wrong kind of with the club at the moment. And I just think that there's an over reliance on these young players. And I just think, a club of our stature, we shouldn't be relying on the likes of Sambi, Saka and Smith Rowe, to be starting these games week in, week out, performing in these games. Sambi was brushed aside. That's what he was. He was brushed aside. I don't know whether he was off balance or not, but he was brushed off the ball and he lost possession. It's going to happen. He's a 21-year-old. His game's developing. Even for professionals in their 30s, there are going to be errors. There are going to be mistakes. So I don't think, and I'm glad that the Arsenal fan base, from what I've seen, didn't really kind of go too heavy on Sambi's mistake. But yeah, he was brushed off the ball. We lost possession, and then obviously the ball ended up with Edouard, and he basically had a free run at goal, and that was simply because Ben White didn't make a challenge. Ben White falls under the category of a lot of the Arsenal players for me, in that they're just inconsistent. When Ben White first put on an Arsenal shirt, we can sit here and we can say all about heavy price tag. He's transitioning from one Premier League club to the other club, but I just feel as though, as a fan base, like we are really, really good at making excuses, for players, for managers, for clubs, etc. And I just think it's kind of getting to the point now where I'm really kind of getting tired of it. Like, for me, the whole point in buying a Premier League proven defender is that you don't need a season to transition, and you don't need kind of time to really kind of get to grips. Now, I know these guys are human beings, and I know he has transitioned from one team to another, so it will take some time for him to settle in. It will take some time for him to kind of build relationships with the back four. They've never played together. I understand that. But for me, these are the basics of defending. The attacker is running towards you, and you're between the attacker and the goal. You've got to make a challenge. If Edouard didn't shoot at that point, Ben White would have ended up on his goal line. He was backing up so much. So I don't quite understand, at what point was he going to make a decision to either approach the attacker or actually stand firm, stand still, and wait until the attacker, got to him. He's got to make that decision at some point, but the decision doesn't come. And to be fair, Edouard takes a punt, and it goes in. And to be fair, I can't blame Ramsdale, because, it looked as though he couldn't even see anything with all the players in front of him. I'm not sure whether he could be blamed for the goal or not, but yeah, the defending leading up to this goal was poor, and I just feel like Ben White falls into the. I'm not going to sit here and say he's a waste of money, because I think only time will tell. But Ben White falls into the same category that so many of these Arsenal players fall into, and that is they're having inconsistent seasons. Just like the team is being inconsistent, the players are inconsistent from game to game. When he came in and he put on an Arsenal shirt, he looked shaky, which is understandable. Other games, he looked solid. Really good displays against the likes of Norwich and Burnley. Really good display, both him and Gabriel against Spurs. And then we see defending like this. So it's frustrating. And the only thing we can do is hope with time that he's his play improves. But there's a lot of fans out there that don't necessarily believe that, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but don't necessarily believe we bought him because of his fantastic defensive displays. It's more to do with his kind of transitional play, being able to move with the ball, transition from defending to attacking. And to be honest, I've not even really seen much of that. I've not seen much of the kind of him being kind of graceful and really comfortable on the ball and so forth. So the jury's definitely out on Ben White, and I think if the performances don't start coming good, I think there's going to be a huge amount of pressure on him from the fan base, because I think given the Arsenal where we are as a club right now, frustrations building amongst definitely sections of the fan base, and I'd admittedly put myself into that bracket. I'm getting to the point where I'm just getting fed up with the inconsistent performances from the club, but from individual players. We spent 50 million on this player, Premier League proven defender, and so far, am I impressed? Not really. I've seen glimpses of what looks to be a good player. Obviously, he comes. We saw his performances at Brighton. We know what he did at Leeds. There's a player there, but just too many of these players at Arsenal are just not having consistent seasons, and it's really, really worrying.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get a few of these comments. Where we got to. So, Mike, just to clarify on that, the elite group of refs are full-time. Wow. As I say, in that case, I think the Premier League need to look at what qualifies them to be an elite referee.
They do.
Because it's not good enough. Simple as that. It's just not good enough. Tom, it was a shocking bit of defending by Benjamin. Yeah, I don't know if did you see that interview that obviously Benjamin White did with Sky? I have no issue.
Yeah.
His name's Benjamin, fine. The thing about him not watching football, maybe you should start. Mohammed, FA hits us, referees hit us. It's been the case for decades now. Yeah, it has. Gary, White should take the yellow. Some say ESR was jogging back and could have helped. I've seen X do this too many times, so maybe Arteta allows it. G, maybe this is the first time White has seen an attacker run at him with the ball. White bought the time for our defence to get back, but he had a runner outside of him unmarked. He couldn't have committed in that 2-versus-1 situation. So I played centre-back from a very young age. And I was always coached. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I was always coached to stand up. To stand up to the player coming at you. But if you seen the white line of your 18-yard box, you tackled.
Mm-hmm.
You made that tackle. You didn't back off.
That's what I mean. It was more to do with where he was positioned.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with what Mohammed is saying. I agree with what you're saying, Mohammed, in that, if you are outflanked, you've basically got to have a view of who's coming at you and who's coming to the side of you. However, you can't just keep backing off. Because if you keep backing off, like I said, he would have ended up on his own goal line. You know,
it gets to a
he
point
can
where you
strike a
have to
free-runner
make that
goal.
decision to make that,
Yeah,
that
you have
attempt.
to.
Because otherwise, as you say, he ends up back on his own goal line. But I say, I was always taught, stand up, back off. You're absolutely right in what you're saying, Mohammed. You are. But it gets to the point where you have to make that challenge. And it just looked like he was never going to make that challenge.
Just take the guy out.
Yeah. Take one for the team.
Yeah.
I said it was like watching Koscielny at times because she was infamous for dropping off like that. Hitting this habit of Gabriel and his curtsy style block. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Maguire does that as well a lot for United.
Yeah.
Mike Ramsdale got screened by White. The shot was past him before he could react.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no issue with Ramsdale's position or anything. Yes, Benjamin fits the playing out from the back plan. A centre back with really good passing skills, not defending. Has Brighton missed him? Don't think they have.
That's what I mean.
Have a good night, fellas. Going to see if the fam remember me. Thanks, Gary, and I will see you on Monday night. I think Benjamin is a good signing. If we play 3 centre backs in a flat 4, I think he's got a fair bit to do. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this issue that he can't head the ball either. So listen, let's fire on quickly, and obviously, the last sort of 10 minutes we came back to life.
Yeah.
And we managed in the sort of dying embers of the game, shall we say, to get an equaliser. Pepe crossed the ball in from the left, was headed down. Ben White snatched at a shot. Keeper saved it, parried it back out, and Lacazette was there, quick to react, and to smack the ball into the back of the net. You could see the relief from the players. I know there's a lot being made about how much he celebrated it.
Nonsense.
But you can understand the relief to get that goal.
Yeah.
Because a point matters.
Yep.
We've seen that. We've seen it last season. A point can be the difference between Europe and not.
Mm-hmm.
We should be winning games like this, but it is better to get a point than nothing.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts when Lacazette scored?
Well, to be fair, just to roll it back a little bit, Lacazette just came on and absolutely inspired the whole team. I think a lot has to be said for that performance. He came on, he got the crowd going, with almost like his first couple of touches, and the goal he scored was obviously, it was an instinct, striker finish. He was in the right place at the right time, but nevertheless, he had to put it away. And yeah, at that point, as an Arsenal fan, and I think just any fan that supports any club, it was a hard watch at times. And, at the end of the day, we were facing a defeat. And when Lacazette put that ball in the back of the net, I find it hard to believe that any Arsenal fan would not have reacted in any kind of way, because it's almost like an emotion you can't control. So I was absolutely thrilled when he scored. Obviously, I was looking at the clock to see if we could get third, but by all accounts, it was more or less the last kick of the game. So it pretty much sealed, the fact that the game was going to end in a draw. But yeah, I was absolutely thrilled with the goal. And despite whatever my opinion is of the Arsenal performance, a point is better than no points. And in a way, I was really happy for Lacazette, because the cameo role that he played in that match was deserving of a goal, and he got the goal that he deserves, in my opinion.
Okay. So, 2-2 draw. It's a disappointing result.
Yeah.
And we can argue over whether we should have won, whether we deserve to get anything from the game.
Yeah.
But I put out a poll on Twitter on Tuesday, which ran for 24 hours. We had 444 votes. We can all agree last night's result wasn't good enough. For you, who was at fault? Vote and leave your comments below, and we'll read some out on tomorrow's review show.
Yeah.
So remember, no opinion is right or wrong, but we all have one, so share it, please. So the poll results were as follows. The choices were the players, Arteta, the ref, or Palace were just better. And this is who was to blame. Palace were just better, came in at 14%. The ref took 16%. The players took 32%. And Arteta, 39% of the blame. Just to read a few of the comments, a couple of people are saying it was all 4. Let's see. Paul Cook, AFC. The players are capable of so much more, but Arteta needs to motivate them to play to their strengths rather than trying to reinvent them. Sandro Gunner, ref was something else. That was a complete red card. The guy kicked Saka intentionally because the ball was in the air. How can't that be a red card? James, AFC F1, all of the first 3 options. So the players, Arteta, and the ref. Keith Wareham, we have too many passengers, e.g. Odegaard being the worst culprit. Bloody pants, he was weak, something or other. Let's see, Matt Gunner, I think no one is saying, but the ref had a massive part to play. Every time we got away from them, we got fouled, and it was a terrible decision against Saka. That's red all day. The players were not good enough, but he had such a big part to play. Scotty McGee, 1 to 100%. It was the 100%. It was the players. 2 individual errors led to the goals. Arteta set the team up to control and attack. Players did that, then dropped off. This coincided with Arteta being more active on the touchline. Palace grew into the game and learned how to play party. Sorry. Let's see. 2, if the ref send off the Palace player, then it stops their midfield control and allows us the ball back. Those things were huge. Playing against 10, and you don't have those individual errors, obvious in my opinion. Somebody put up a picture of Arteta. I'm fully responsible. Mikel Arteta 2021. Oz at B_guard_. 2 individual mistakes led to the goals, and the ref didn't send the player off for kicking Saka. But you lot think Arteta is to blame the most. Couldn't write it. Northern Gunner. It's gone far, far beyond blaming players. Arteta consistently fails to adjust or show signs of a plan. People always blame the ref for an excuse to try and mask the fact Arteta isn't good enough. They're fouled by 3 wins. Fooled, sorry, by 3 wins. 3 wins where we played well for a total of 60 minutes. So yeah, I mean, it's a mixed bag of comments in terms of who's to blame, but obviously 39% saying Arteta. I mean, for you to sum it up, who do you blame for the performance?
For me, the performance is down to both Arteta and the players. I personally feel like the ref is irrelevant. I don't as much as the foul was, it was a terrible foul. It was a red card, but for me, I just see it as an irrelevance. I'm looking at Arsenal Football Club in terms of how we're playing football, in terms of how we're performing against the opposition. So for me, the incident with the ref, yes, it would have changed the dynamics of the game, but I'm just kind of looking beyond that now. I'm looking at how this team is performing against other teams. In terms of, so you have the ref, you also had Crystal Palace. For me, Crystal Palace are not a better team than Arsenal. Man for man, squad for squad. They're just not. Yes, they have dangerous players. Yes, they're professionals. They're a decent side. But for me, on paper, Arsenal have a better squad than Crystal Palace. And for me, that should translate to how we perform on the pitch. So I can only put down last Monday night's draw and the other results and the other performances this season down to both the players and Arteta. So for me, they are responsible. Obviously, you get bad officiating. Obviously, the opposition will have an impact on how the game goes. But I'm seeing Arsenal and Arsenal's players consistently underperform from match to match. when if you look at the season so far, we got spanked by Brentford, Chelsea, and City. Now, to be fair, we had a very depleted squad. We did. We had a lot of injuries. We had the whole COVID outbreak, etc. However, the Norwich performance for me was not good, which is why when we did our stream, I wasn't convinced, and I actually felt we were quite fortunate to win that game 1-0. The Burnley performance was not good. We scraped another 1-0 win. We came absolutely alive in the North London derby and absolutely annihilated Spurs in the first half. But again, the second half, there were question marks around our performance. Brighton, I'm sorry. People, I've had so many arguments with so many people on Twitter about, if you look at the stats, we had this much possession, we had equal amount of shots. Listen, I don't care about stats. I watch football. Like every other man or every other woman, we watch the game. And when I watch Arsenal play Brighton were the better side. I was sitting there as an Arsenal fan and I was nervous because we were being outplayed, in my opinion, by Brighton. I was sitting there as an Arsenal fan and I was disappointed that we were not playing the football Brighton were playing. So for me, we were fortunate to get a draw against Brighton. Now we play Crystal Palace and we have a fantastic start. And then we immediately stop playing after the first kind of 20 minutes or so. And again, the stats will show that there was an equal amount of shots, possession. I think we even had more possession, etc. But me as an Arsenal fan watching that game, for the vast majority of that game, I was absolutely bricking it because Palace looked as though they were going to score. Every single time they picked up the ball, they looked, from what I was watching, the better side on the night. And I just think to epitomize that, you just have to look at Vieira's reaction when Arsenal scored. Of the two managers, when that game finished, Arteta was by far the more relieved manager. Not only because we rescued a point, it's because that equalizer painted over the fact that for the large part of that match, we were awful. We didn't actually play well. And Vieira was absolutely gutted because I think once again this season, Palace have put on a good display, probably deserved, no, I wouldn't even say probably, deserved to win that game based on what I watched, and yet they walked away with a draw. So for me, it's like, I'm not sitting in, I'm not going to say that Arteta is, fully responsible for what's happening on the pitch, because I do believe the players have to take accountability and responsibility. And if there were two options on that survey, I would have picked both the players and Arteta. However, I have to be honest, I'm not convinced by this guy. I'm really, really not. And it's because of the performances that I'm seeing. I'm not seeing, even if we were performing well and not necessarily getting the results. But I feel it's somewhat the opposite with Arteta. I feel like when Arteta and Arsenal, in that we're not performing well, but we're actually sneaking a lot of results that could have quite easily gone against us. And that's just my opinion, with regards Arteta. And I don't know if you want me to go into more depth in terms of just him as a manager and why I feel as though the curtain may begin to start closing on him. I'll leave that for a little bit. I'll let you have your say with regards this performance, but I have my reasons with regards Arteta, and I'll explain them a little bit later. But I definitely feel as though we're moving towards the potential end of Arteta's reign at Arsenal. I really do. And I feel as though a lot of Arsenal fans don't agree with me, but I'm telling you, we lose against Villa and Leicester, we see how many agree with me then.
Okay, so let's just put this straight out there. One word answers from you guys in the chat. Are you Arteta in or Arteta out? So just simply in or out. And who do we replace him with?
I'm
That's the
interested
big thing.
though. I'm interested, Stephen. In terms of that performance, how would you have voted?
I voted for the players.
Is that because you couldn't vote for both, or was that just your honest opinion? It was the players' responsibility.
My honest opinion. Don't get me wrong, and I have said, and I again, you know, we had this conversation last night. I never wanted Arteta.
Yeah.
When he came in, I did not want Arteta. I thought it was the cheap option. I thought he was inexperienced and it was too big a job for him.
Yeah.
But once he had the job, I was willing to back him. I wanted what do you call him at Juventus now?
Pellegrini.
No.
What's his name? Oh, Juve coach. He left Juve, went back to Juve. Oh God, put it in the chat.
I'm having a
Somebody.
mind blank, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know you're talking about Italian guy.
Yeah.
Oh God, what's his name?
So
Allegri,
yes.
Yeah.
Max Allegri was who I wanted. And I wanted Allegri because he would sort out the defence. And that was our biggest problem. Now, Arteta then came in and has effectively sorted out our defence. I think he set the team up well. I think, you know, we come out, and it's been the case, and we've already said tonight, it's been the case in every match this season. We've started the match well. I cannot believe for 1 second that he tells the players, go out and start the match well, and then after 20 minutes, just do what you feel like. The passing last night was sloppy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sorry, but how is he responsible for players not being able to pass a ball?
Yeah.
That can't be on him. So, you know, that side of it, there was individual errors that led to goals. There wasn't the same. There's an issue with confidence. I do genuinely believe that they don't seem to be confident in what's going on and that style of play. That, I think, obviously has to come from Arteta. He has to give them that confidence and that belief.
Yeah.
But I just can't see that he is telling them to back off. And as I said, you could see it in his face whilst he was trying to defend them at the end of the match. You could see in his face there was an anger there as to why are you not following the instructions.
But don't you think though, if they're not listening to him, don't you think that's in a way enough to replace him? Because it's like it's
I get what you're
like,
saying, but
do you know what I mean? It's almost like, well, if you've got like we've both worked in different industries, like, you know, education, you know, recruitment, etc. And I just think, like, if you've got a line manager in a business where like nobody respects the line manager or listens to the line manager, you've got to do one of two things. You've either got to get rid of the line manager, or you got to get rid of the players. Now, for me, it's like I personally feel like, yes, we do need a much better squad. I do believe that. I don't feel that this squad is good enough. However, I'm very much of the mindset that this is the squad that we have right now. And I just feel as though Arteta doesn't have the necessarily skill set at this precise moment, or the management style, or whatever it is, to get the best out of this current squad. Because let's face it, how long is it going to take for our owners to buy the players that Arteta needs in order to make his system work?
But they're not, because as I said to you last night, the squad needed more of an overhaul than 6 players. The squad needed 18 players. And the problem we have is that we bought 6 players. We spent the most of any Premier League team. We spent the most of any team in Europe, effectively.
Yeah.
But we bought 6 squad players. And we bought 6 mid-table squad players.
Yeah.
You know, we weren't buying high-quality players. Let's be honest. I mean, yeah, we're all raving about, you know, Tomiyasu because he had a great first 2 or 3 games. But he's not been great the last 2.
Yeah.
You know, we're bumming and blowing about Smith Rowe and Saka. Saka's not been good this season.
Yeah.
Smith Rowe for me, Smith Rowe was completely missing on Monday night. And I know you said about Odegaard and how he put in a 0 performance for you. For me, Smith Rowe was worse than Odegaard. But we kept them on the pitch and we took Odegaard off. You could have taken either off. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have made any difference which one of them you took off. But Smith Rowe, we're putting so much pressure on that young man's shoulders. But really, what has he actually delivered? He has huge potential, but we're trying to, we're forcing him to realize his potential sooner than he actually is capable of doing it.
But this then comes back to the argument that, that in many ways they got the recruitment, the summer recruitment wrong. Because for me, those players have come in and I've supported them. I will continue to support them, just like I'll continue to support the young lads, Saka, ESR, regardless if they make mistakes. Just like with Sambi, because I said on one of our streams, I said these guys are young, they're gonna make mistakes. I'm not gonna troll them or their performances on social media because that's not what they need. They're young players developing. It's not their fault that they've been signed and thrown into the deep end and are expected to put in performances week in, week out for a club of our stature. But for me, and I know you were very much in the same mindset as much as many Arsenal fans were, that we wanted our club to go out, show some real ambition and buy, ready-made, star players. Your 25s, your 26s, players in their prime, players that are going to come in and immediately improve this team. And that's why we felt so underwhelmed. Yes, they're gooners now. Yes, we can support them. But realistically, if we were to rewind back to what it felt like in the summer, we weren't happy. We weren't happy because we didn't believe Ben White was the answer to our centre-back issues. We didn't believe Ramsdale was. We didn't believe Tomiyasu was. We didn't believe that Odegaard, I don't care what anyone says, I was not convinced by Odegaard in his loan spell at Arsenal. And I put up several statuses about it. He put in some good performances. And I said to myself, you know what? Maybe I was wrong about Odegaard. And literally, however many people on Twitter were commenting on the post, were commenting in my DM saying, oh, well, if you doubt Odegaard, you don't know nothing about football and this, that, and the other, and blah, 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 blah. Listen, the man was missing against Brighton. The man was missing against Palace. We've bought Odegaard supposedly as our number one attacking midfield option in the summer. And these are the type of performances he's putting in. So for me, I believe, no disrespect to these players because I don't want to bash them. But at the end of the day, I believe they got it wrong in the summer. I think Arsenal fans would have been a lot more happier had we spent, the 150 million on two massive name players that wouldn't necessarily have guaranteed success, but they would have come into the team and they would have instantly improved the side. But what we've done is we've spent 150 million and we've filled some gaps. But by all accounts, from what you're saying, from what I'm saying, is we need another 2, 3, 4, 5 windows of this. And it's just like, I just don't know. For me, I just feel as though, like, Arteta, for me, has come into the club and he's won 2 cups. We never envisioned he would do that. We didn't. It was beyond our wildest dreams, and you have to give him credit for that, 100%. But for me, he's been at the club for 2 years now. He's spent, I think, just shy of £200 million. And I think there's been about maybe 7 or 8 signings in terms of contract renewals. So when I look at the length of time he's been at the club, given 2 years, when I look at the amount of money he's spent, and then I look at the contract renewals of the players that he's chosen to keep at the club, okay, have we improved? Because in his first season, he finished 8th, albeit it wasn't his season, but we won silverware. In his second full season, we finished 8th. In his third season, or say technically his second season, we're 12th. And my question mark is, have we improved? Have we seen enough to justify this man for having a job at Arsenal? We hounded our legendary manager out of this club for finishing top 4. We hounded Emery out of this club, who at 50 games had a better record than Arteta. But
Not by
yeah,
much.
not by much. It was very close. But we got him out of the club. We said he wasn't good enough. We wrote him off. Why are we sitting here willing to give Arteta more time? Because if I remember rightly, at the back end of last season, we said, you know what? 25 years we've been in Europe. We didn't secure European football. And I remember having a conversation with, you and the guys on the stream, etc., thinking about, what are we going to do? Are we going to give him 10 games? Are we going to give him till Christmas? I feel as though he will get until Christmas. I do. But have we seen enough from the first 8 games? Taking into context, we've got Villa and Leicester. Have we seen enough over the last two years, £200 million spent, contract renewals, and the first 8 games in this season to actually justify that this man should still be football manager of Arsenal Football Club? I am not convinced.
I get what you're saying. Firstly,
tomorrow,
one thing I would say,
I wouldn't lose any sleep.
I get what you're saying. The one thing I would say, firstly, on the you say we're 12th, we're 4 points off 4th after 8 games. I mean, it doesn't take long to make. I know,
but we could be 7 come Friday or Saturday.
But then it's the same for any team. In terms of how much time are we given? For me personally, the only reason, as I've said before, it's not that I'm Arteta in or Arteta out. Right now, I'm Arteta in until Christmas, purely for the fact that no one has been able to give me a name of someone who could come in now, who would want to take the job, who could make a difference.
Yeah, but I feel as though that's because, as Arsenal fans, we've almost been, through our owners, we've almost been, and through like the media and even our own demise, we've almost been just kind of punched down to the ground, where we don't necessarily believe we could actually attract or have a manager come in that can improve this team. But really and truly, and this is a criticism of the ownership of Arsenal Football Club, the Kroenkes, because they should be looking at this. Because I'll tell you now, Arteta is lucky I'm not a billionaire owner that owns Arsenal, because he'd be gone, mate. He would be gone. Trust me. And I would put my money, I would put my hand in my pocket, and I would get this football club a Zidane. I would get this football club an Allegri. I would get this football club, I would sign those type of players. And that's why I understand that some Arsenal fans are saying, well, what's the point in sacking him or firing him? Because at the end of the day, nothing's going to change. We still need a whole squad overhaul, etc., etc. It's not going to change anything. But for me, I just don't think it's. I kind of feel like it's just a bit of a well, okay, if he's not getting the best out of these players, we just need to accept it then, that we're just gonna not improve, and we're just gonna have him as manager. I just kind of can't rest like that. I just think if it's not working for him, we need to get another manager in. Because for me, we finished 8th last season, and there were teams that finished above us in the league that, for me, don't have better squads than us. And I think right now we're sitting in a table at 12th position, and we're seeing managers and squads above us that don't have better squads than us. And I know, we can say what we want about these Arsenal players, whether they're good enough, whether they're not good enough. But I honestly do not believe, I said it at the back end of last season, I honestly don't believe that we had the 8th best squad in the league. I don't. And I still don't believe we do. I feel as though we have players that should be challenging for at least 5th and 6th in the division. I honestly believe that. And I just don't feel that he's getting the best out of these Arsenal players. I really don't.
So from our squad, how many of our squad make it in the top 4 squad?
But that's why I said we can't challenge top 4.
Yeah,
but we should be competing.
Because we're buying mid-table players.
Yeah, but would you argue and say that Pepe is a mid-table player?
Yes.
Aubameyang's a mid-table player. Gabriel's a
Aubameyang,
mid-table player.
arguably, Aubameyang could get in the squad of a top 4. I don't know that he'd necessarily start over for some of them.
Okay, so if we look at the Premier League table last year, would you say West Ham have a better team than us? Man for man.
No, probably not.
Okay, who else finished above us last season?
As a collective, yes. As individuals, no.
But why as a collective?
We had better individuals, but collectively, their squad as a whole averaged out to be better.
Why?
Because our players aren't good enough.
No, but if we individually have better players than them, collectively,
some of our individuals are better, is what I'm saying. But we have the quality of our team goes from here to here, whereas West Ham's squad is here. They're all here. Ours are up and down.
So in terms of that, when you think about that justification, then you can't realistically say then that you expect Arteta to get us top 6 this season. Your expectations must be that Arsenal are going to finish out of the Europa League places.
My expectations or my wishes?
Your expectation.
Realistically, no, I don't think we're going to get top 6.
No, or even a Europa League place. Because if West Ham squad, I don't believe West Ham squad's better than Arsenal squad. But if the West Ham squad is better than the Arsenal squad, then arguably, I think you're saying the Leicester squad is definitely better than the Arsenal squad, and even potentially the Spurs squad. So you're talking the top 4 are the top 4 right now. That's 3. So that's 7 places. So realistically, you can't envision, even if we were to have a good season, you can't envision us finishing anywhere above 8th.
It's not that I think they have better squads, and it's not that I think we have a better squad. I think on the balance, our squads are all quite even.
Yeah.
But in a different way. As I say, it's because their squads are here, our squad's like this. There's a massive gap between the best in our team and the worst in our team. But when you balance it out, it's in around the same. So, I mean, in theory, I think we'll finish probably about 7th. 6th or 7th.
So my next question is, what keeps Arteta in a job by the end of the season? Or what defines him losing his job? What's
in terms of still being manager next season?
Yeah. So but come the end of this season, what for you is an acceptable performance where he would continue into next season?
Well,
or
because we've had this conversation.
Be fired.
We've had this conversation. If he doesn't finish top 6, he's gone. He's got to go.
But see, that's what I don't get though, because it's like if I don't understand how Arsenal fans can say that we have a squad that's not the ability to finish in the top 6, but yet want to finish top 6. I don't get that. I just feel as though if you're honestly saying that you feel as though our squad is not good enough to finish in the top 6, then I don't think we can expect him to finish in the top 6. And this is me defending Arteta.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I get what you're saying.
I feel like our squad is better than West Ham's. I feel like our squad is better than who else is there? I personally feel like we should be challenging for 5th, 6th, 7th based on the squad we have. That's what I personally feel when I look at the teams that are kind of in and around it. However, that's why for me, finishing in those positions, I feel like is kind of realistic. But I don't know. by all accounts, if you don't feel that and I know for you, it's definitely much the squad. You don't feel the squad is good enough, and I hear you on that. But if the squad's not good enough, then I'm not sure we can expect him to finish anywhere above 8th.
Yeah. I'm going to say one more thing, and then I want to go into some of these comments. And because we could do a whole show on this, and I think we potentially should.
Yeah,
I think we should. What we were talking about earlier on,
could
potentially be a full show on this. But my thing is, and as I've said, I just don't see who else could come in right now who would want the job, who would accept the job, that is going to do any better with this squad of players. And I want to go through some of these comments and see if anybody's put in, because from what I've sort of seen, I haven't really seen much coming in terms of whether people are Arteta in or out.
Yeah, it's funny. It's so funny because we asked the question and not a single person I think has put that on the chat. So guys, if you are, if you're happy enough to put it out there, let us know. Are you Arteta in or are you Arteta out?
Yeah. So let's have a read some of these comments. So Keith Laka, I went nuts. Not even sorry to celebrate a last minute leveler. Love Ramsdale's reaction too. Mike, young teams will be inconsistent normally from game to game. RPR Calvin, who doesn't celebrate last minute goals for your team? Crazy social media anomaly. Mike, we seem to be inconsistent during a game on the regular. Absolutely. Chris, I would say the players, as I said earlier, it's all down to individual errors. It's not the first time we've seen players make mistakes leading to goals. Arteta can't be blamed for that or do much about it. Ryan Vieira has been at Palace 5 minutes and he has them playing with the style and backup tactics. If things go wrong, they get back into the game and the players. Calvin, watch Champions League PSG, for example. There are errors. We need to minimise the errors, but over 90 pressurised minutes, it will happen. It's how your team around you react and sweep up. Ryan, the players obviously are playing for Patrick. Mike, Arteta was steady as a player. His management style can only be said to be steady. Ryan, Arteta has been in the Arsenal hot seat 22 months yet. We have no style, nothing, only positive. He has improved us defensively. That's it. I'm sorry, after 22 months, that isn't good enough. The next 4 games will make or break Mikel's time at Arsenal. Calvin, Arteta lets the players go wild and we do better when we're really under pressure. Then when we get some results, he starts to bring his tactics for me. Keith and Chris both reminded me it was Allegri. Calvin, I don't see enough learning from Arteta. He's stubborn and his PR really annoys me when he says we instead of I, shifting the blame for the handbrake. Ryan, we saw a few empty seats already on Mondays from the start of the match. I think it will be worse slightly, and if we lose that going forward, some home attendances will get worse, in my opinion. That if that happens, he's gone, surely. Excuse me. The NFL, since I can remember, has dedicated defensive and offensive coaches. He needs support. Yeah, they do. Lottie, Ryan, it takes forever to get in if you don't go early enough. You know that. Calvin, some Premier League clubs are employing throw-in coaches. We have one. We've Ramsdale taking throw-ins the other night.
Yeah.
Ryan, Lottie, even once the game was underway, aka 10 minutes in, I saw a lot of empty seats in the lower tier as well as the usual upper tier. The amount of gaps I saw in the lower tier once the game was 10 minutes plus in was concerning for me. I think we will see more empty seats going forward if things don't turn around quick. I'm too old to argue. Different seats, different views from Lottie. Is it a coincidence that new players show greats then go off? How much is Arteta spoiling them? From Calvin. Lottie laughing. Keith, I think he'll be here at least until the end of the season. He's been given 150 million to spend on 5-6 players under 24. I worry that they're not listening to him. Maybe this job is too big too soon. Calvin, get well soon, Lottie. Ryan, I'll grab a screenshot Lottie and show you what I mean. Cheers, Calvin. Conversation for off Canon Chatter Lives from Lottie. Smart buy, I was probably wrong. Not sure who we're talking about there because that was quite a while ago. Ryan, here's a question for everyone. Out of the experienced players Arteta inherited when he arrived, can you name one of them players that have kicked on and improved? Pepe, I think, is better now than he was.
Yeah.
I would say Tierney, but Tierney's kind of gone off the boil this season.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. Other than Pepe, I can't think of anyone, to be honest. I can't think of anyone whatsoever. Most of the players in the first team now, really and truly, are Arteta's players. I would Ramsdale, obviously if we go by the last lineup, Ramsdale's his, Tomiyasu's his, White's his, Gabriel's his, Tierney, yeah. So Tierney, I would say there's been a dip really in terms of form. And that was another thing I think we'll have to do another show on as well. It's just kind of like the kind of attacking play and stuff, because I'll be honest, like I'm not really seeing much out of the fullbacks whatsoever in terms of kind of like overlap, getting down the wings, bombing down the wings, pinging the ball in the box. So I think both Tomiyasu and Tierney, like in terms of going forward, is kind of non-existent. Midfield, he bought Partey. Obviously inherited Xhaka, but you know Xhaka is Xhaka. Who? Aubameyang, Lacazette. Yeah, I think arguably Pepe's the only one, and I think I'm not sure if many would even agree with you on that one, Stephen. But I would say there's a slight improvement under Arteta with regard to him.
Okay. Chris, if you've ever been to the Emirates, you will know nobody that's in their seats at the start of the game. You've got the turnstiles and security. Lottie, agreeing with you there. Calvin, I don't want to say Arteta out. He really cares and I wanted it. Still would love to see it, but I'm now off the fence after Monday. He's had time now. Lottie, when you say hounded G, it weren't all of us as a fan base, it's just a section of the fans.
Yeah, 100%.
Even if you fire him, it's still the same squad. Chris, I would say Arteta in. You can look at it and say we are 6 games unbeaten since the Norwich game. Yes, the games haven't been great, but I don't feel Arteta is completely to blame for it. Ryan, you said that, Lottie, but Lampard was sacked and Tuchel took the same players Lampard had, and look what he did. Calvin, don't fire him, bring in help. There's a middle ground. He needs help. Mike, this ownership will do nothing, so don't worry about Arteta getting the sack. Calvin, yes, the Chelsea situation is a good case. Lottie, the quality is a different story. Chelsea, Ryan, as Stephen said, how many would make the top 4 teams in this squad? Calvin, yes, Arteta being fired is a hypothetical and his comfort zone is telling. That is true. You know, maybe he's just too comfortable. Mike, West Ham are a better team, simple as.
Nah, not for me.
Lottie, we look better on paper than the field, got to be honest. Ryan, I'm not saying a new head coach comes in and we go to the top 4 like that, but we do finish 5th or 6th. Mike, we might have more expensive team. Didn't say you was, genuine question. Chris, but we ain't going to sign the likes of Mbappe or Haaland. That's just fantasy world. We can only sign the players that one we can afford and 2 that would want to come here. Strength and depth is our downfall. Spurs is too far. Ryan, I personally think someone like Ten Hag would get better out of the squad of players this season and get us 5th or 6th place. Finish, then kick on the next season with a few additions. You're right in what you're saying. I think Ten Hag could do a good job, but I don't think for 1 second Ten Hag would leave Ajax right now. You know, he's got a team doing well. I think, you know, he'll want to see that out this season, especially whilst they're still in the Champions League.
Yeah.
You know, he got them to the semi-final a couple of years back when, you know, they lost to them lot down the road in the semi. He knows that, you know, that squad has the potential. You know, so I don't see him leaving them right now. Potentially at the end of the season, yeah. But I don't see him going now in the middle of a Champions League campaign. And that's why this is what I'm coming back to when I say, tell me someone who can come in right now and improve this team. Not someone who can come in at the end of the season, but who will take the job that wants it right now. Depends on the January window and where we finish from Lottie. Ryan, also someone like Ten Hag is a proven coach that would fit the mould the club want to go down with and is happy to give youth a chance, etc. Also, look at Ten Hag has done with Haller. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm agreeing with you. Arteta out for Ryan. Fair enough. Chris, our first team is better than Spurs or Leicester for me. What's our issue? Is it's El Neni for Party, it's holding for Gabriel. The reserve players are not at the same level. Or those in the first team. Okay. But I'm also cronky out as well. Yeah, I mean, as we've said, until the ambitions of the owners match the ambitions of the fans, nothing's going to change. Lottie's still comfortable on her fence. Hire them splinters, Lottie. Lions AFC evening. I like Arteta wanting to do well, but see what happens during Crimbo period. But some of our players need to take responsibility because that on Monday night was dreadful. Absolutely. Lottie, I've got a cannon chatter cushion to sit on. All good. Pepe has been poor. He has, but do you know, it's funny. I was reading a thing earlier on. Someone put up a post about record signings and saying how good Lukaku has been and how good Jack Grealish has kicked on since he's gone to City.
Lukaku's not been good.
Well, I was looking at it. Lukaku has a total of 4 goals and assists in 10 games, 11 if you include tonight.
Yeah.
Grealish has a total of 3 goals and assists in, I think it's 11 or 12 games.
It's because their teams are doing well. That's all it is.
Pepe has 3 goals and assists in 6 games.
It's just because their teams are doing well. It gets overlooked.
Pepe's stats are better. It's the fact that what Pepe does the rest of the time is poor. But, he can. The thing with Pepe is he can be so poor and so frustrating, but then he can just instantly turn up with 1 minute of magic.
Yeah.
And that's the issue with him.
I think Lukaku's got the same amount of goals as Aubameyang this season. 3 in the league.
Isn't that concerning, right? The NFL comment makes no sense. Obviously, they have different coaches as defense and offense or different types of games and players. There isn't the same 11 playing both roles in a game. I do think there's a place for a defensive coach. We have set piece coaches. I do think, get someone like Tony Adams in. Stevie Bold should have been working with the defense. Calvin, sorry, Stephen, I think Pepe is worse. Though I was educated to see his stats tonight. I'm being silly from his game against us in Europa. His style got stripped at Heathrow. Smart buy is Odegaard. Right, fair enough. I cannot think of a single manager who would take this job right now and improve us. I would rewind and show you my tweets on Lukaku, no better. And Chris, the main name is Conte, but as has been said before, he left Inter because there wasn't the funds. So why would he then come to Arsenal? Our situation is no better than Inter's. And he wants the United job. So the Zidane one, that's one that you mentioned to me last night and you said it again tonight. Do you really think Zidane is a good enough coach that he could take this group of players and do something with them? Because for me, when he got the job at Madrid, he took over a team of Galacticos, world stars.
Yeah.
And yes, he did well with them. But they weren't mid-table players. They were world-class players.
Yeah. Well, then maybe
he have the experience to work with a squad like this and turn them around?
Maybe we need a mid-table manager. Maybe we need a Graham Potter. Maybe we need a David Moyes. Maybe we need the guy at Leeds. I've forgotten his name now. Maybe we need that type of manager. But for me, I'm just not convinced. I'm just not convinced by Arteta. And I honestly believe, I don't think things are going to get better. I think things are going to get worse before they get better.
Pepe's decision-making on picking the right pass drove me mad Monday night. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't great on Monday night, but then he still had a hand in both goals. So, this is what I'm talking about. Maybe Conte wants an impossible mission from Calvin. Right, listen, I think we'll park that there because I think, as I say, we'll potentially have a whole show out of this because realistically, he's probably not getting sacked before Christmas. But I think we could do a whole show on this, and I think we will. So I want to move on quickly because I'm conscious we've been on for over 2 hours already. And I want to take a quick look at Friday night, and obviously Villa come to town. Villa are below us in the league. They're not doing wonderful. For me, Buendia has flopped. You know, the man we all were so disappointed we didn't get. He's flopped since he's gone there. I think he's got like 1 assist. Martinez, nothing would make me happier than smashing a whole host of goals past Martinez.
Can you imagine, though? Oh,
so he can cry after the game. So yeah, listen, very quickly, talk me through the 11 that you've picked for this game.
Yeah, so for this 11, I've literally just thought to myself, you know what? I'm gonna give the kids a break. Honestly, that was my thinking behind this 11. I'm gonna drop ESR, I'm gonna drop Saka, and I'm gonna drop Sambi. And it's not necessarily because they don't deserve to play, but I just think I want to see performances from our experienced senior players. I really feel like at this point in time, these guys just need to step up and just take a look in the mirror and actually put in a performance. So I've gone with Ramsdale because I think quite clearly he's our number one, and I can't really envision seeing Leno in the team over him at this stage. Tomiyasu for me needs games, so we got to keep him. We got to keep him in the team. The more he plays, hopefully, the better he's going to get as he adjusts to the Premier League. Ben White and Gabriel, for me, that's the best centre-back pairing we have, and that's the centre-back pairing that we're going to be moving forward with. So, again, they need games. They need to build that chemistry, build the relationships at the back. I was a bit tempted to drop Tierney, if I'm completely honest, because from what I've seen from Nuno, I think Tavares, I think he's probably in with a shout of starting. I think Tierney's game has dropped, but nevertheless, he is our first team, left back, and I just think. He's one of the kind of senior players, even though he's of a certain age, but he's a senior player for me. Like, yeah, put him in there and we expect a performance. I've gone with something that I really probably never thought I'd ever go with, and I've put El Nene in next to Partey. And I just think this is simply because of the options we have available. I thought about sticking Sambi straight back in, and I thought, nah, I think, I think we should just give him some time out of the first team, given the mistake he made in the last game. There could be an argument to throw him straight back in, but I would rest him and I'd put El Nene. And the reason why I put El Nene is because I just feel as though, as much as I don't necessarily rate him, I just think we need somebody in that defensive area. We need somebody like in front of the back four who is going to sit deep, who is going to try and clean up and just allow Partey to be the box-to-box midfielder he is and not have to rely on him, being the DM that he's not. So I feel like of all the options we have available in terms of Sambi and Maitland-Niles, I'm just going to pick El Nene because I just think defensively, even though he's not the greatest technically, I just think defensively he offers the most. And I think this whole experiment with Odegaard or Smith Rowe next to Partey, it's not worked. And I just don't think we should continue with it. I picked Partey because he's our best centre mid, and regardless of his mistake, which was a foul, which wasn't a foul, he's our best midfielder, and I can't envision an Arsenal side without him being in it. Hopefully, he gets his goal because he is getting closer. I've stuck with Odegaard because I just think to myself, this is the big man. Like this is the attacking midfielder that. Arsenal fans, we were crying out for. Not me, but we were crying out for. This is the Norwegian captain. This is the fantastic playmaker we played from Real Madrid, that we took from Real Madrid. Absolute baller that was supposed to come in and completely transform this team. And I've actually picked him in a way just for the sake of it, because I just think to myself, this is the baller that we've picked. We had a lack of creativity, and this is the baller that we've picked to bring into the club that's going to kind of, be the guy to transform our creative play. I've not seen it. bar his free kick, I've not seen it. So I want to see it. So the only way I'm going to see it is if I put him in the team. So I want to see him, first of all, show up and then maybe play some football on Friday against Villa. So I've put him in the team because I think he needs to step up. He was a big money signing in the summer. And quite frankly, bar a decent performance in the North London derby where the whole team played well and the free kick he scored in another game, I'm not convinced, and I'm still not convinced. But I'm picking him because you don't buy a player for 30, 35, 40 million euros to be benched. So you've got to play and you've got to deliver. I put Pepe on the right because I think, whether Saka is ready or not, the guy deserves a rest. We're in danger of completely burning him out. He's a quality youngster, but he is a youngster, and we need to be careful with how often we play this guy. He literally got kicked about, the other night, and I just think, we've got a £72 million player in Pepe. Fan base is completely split with regards to Pepe and his performances, but nevertheless, his stats tell a different story. He's most effective on the right, so I'm going to stick him on the right, and I'm going to play him. I'm going to put Aubameyang on the left, only because I can't legitimately give any reason why Lacazette does not deserve a start in this team. I think the way he came on and the way he got the crowd going, the way he lifted the entire team that was on the pitch, I think for me, it deserves a start. So that's the team I've gone with. Bit of a strange selection, but by my standards, in the inclusion of El Nene, Odegaard in particular, because El Nene I've never rated, and Odegaard I've been absolutely not impressed with him at all. But for me, that's the team that should be starting every single week based on seniority. Based on these are our most experienced players, and these are the players that are supposed to be delivering for this football club. So you know what? Take the shirt, put it on, and get us a result. And stop relying on these youngsters that we have, albeit fantastic youngsters, but relying on boys to do a man's job. You get out there and you do the job that you're paid to do.
Fair enough. Do you know what? This is funny because obviously you had sent your team through to Chris and he sent it to me, obviously, so I could have the graphic. And I opened it up and I only had to change one player.
Yeah.
So I've basically gone for the exact same squad, except I've dropped Tierney.
Wow.
And I'll be honest with you, I mean, Tierney hasn't looked good this season.
It's very close to picking the exact same team.
Yeah. Tierney hasn't looked good. And for me, maybe he just needs a wee break.
Yeah.
He's played a lot of games. He has actually played this season.
Yeah.
He played a couple of games during the international break. He played during the last international break.
Yeah.
He maybe just needs a wee bit of a rest.
Yeah.
And Tavares, I think, is more than capable of coming in and covering for him.
He is.
So I think give Tavares a game. I think Tomiyasu has to play because he's our best right back. And I also went for El Nene in midfield.
Yeah.
Just purely because I think against the likes of Wendia and McGinn, I think El Nene will sit back that wee bit more.
Yeah.
And it allows also, it allows Partey to have that wee bit more freedom.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think with Sambi there, I don't think he has that freedom because they're both sort of box to box players. I think the problem you're going to have with trying to play Sambi and Partey in the same team is the same problem England had with Lampard and Gerrard. In that which one sits back.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem we're going to have with those two. I still think, for me, Bruno Guimaraes in January. You bring him in, you put him alongside Partey in midfield. The other thought then for me was, and this was touched on earlier on from Keith saying about the 4-4-2. I am not against the idea of going back to a 4-4-2. It's going to come around eventually because all these formations go in phases. Why don't we play 4-4-2, have Aubameyang up top and have Lacazette just sitting slightly off him, the same way Bergkamp used to do with Henry.
Yeah.
and with Wright before him as well. Have Lacazette sitting slightly deep off Aubameyang up top, play 2 out and out wingers and 2 in the midfield. You look at the success we had, the Invincibles before that, we were playing 4-4-2.
Yep.
So why not go back to it? That's my squad. Guys, drop your score predictions in. We'll come on to them in a wee sec. I'll just read a couple of these comments.
This is going to be interesting. Score predictions.
Yeah. Zidane isn't a good coach. Look what happened when Ronaldo and co left. His tactics and results were not up to it. Once the big names left, his results went down, and then he left before he was sacked. Albert, evening, Albert. How are you? Smash the likes, people.
Evening, Albert.
Yes, Laka and Alba from Calvin. He's agreeing with us. Elneny ruled man of the match. Ruled match of the day. Match of the day that one Saturday night last year. He has it inside. My voice is starting to go. Calvin has smashed his Tierney on the crossbar. Albert, I'm going to the game Friday against Villa. I'm deeply concerned. The way we were playing Villa on Friday night could embarrass us potentially. Great show, guys. Yeah. Thank you, Albert. And listen, clear to see where your feelings are going now. I was, watching your show with Ross, isn't it?
Yeah, I watched that as well.
Not happy with how things are going, shall we say. Chris, I still think Elneny can do a job. Yes, he's like a crab with a sideways movement, but him in front of the back four should release Partey to move forward with the ball and use passing skills. Calvin, yes, rest Tierney, I agree. Katie is probably looking at who's got the armband and gone, really, still? Potentially, Keith. Stephen, are you saying you are missing 34? Lottie, I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. Go eat your pale monster munch. Calvin, White needs a good game to not get dropped, in my opinion. And Keith, I would have said 4-4-2 would stun the world, but the secret is out now. Cheers, lads. Yeah, well, listen, it's only Arteta that watches this show, not the world. 3-1 to us from Keith. Right, anybody else with score predictions, drop them in now. So, score predictions, as everybody knows by now, we have our Predictor League. Just to give you an update on the Predictor League, currently sitting in first place are the fans on 5 points.
Wow.
Lottie is second on 4 points.
Quality.
I am third on 3 points. And you are second on 2 points.
Oh, Lord. Last, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, last. I'm gone. No one has predicted a correct score yet.
Nah, it's crazy.
Not one correct score.
Madness.
So we're yet to win any money on our charity bets. This week, our charity bet was picked by Chris, our very own Chris Bullard, World Championship Wrestling Federation, Chris there. And he has gone for Arsenal to win 3-0. And that was a 16-1 odds, which I was actually quite surprised at. So that would return £17 if Arsenal win 3-0. Lottie messaged me earlier on. Her score prediction is 2-1 to Arsenal. I am going 2-0 to Arsenal. G, what's your thoughts?
You know what? I've got to be honest, and I've got to go with like what I've seen. And I honestly, I can't see us winning this game. I can't. At the same time, I find it very difficult to bet against my team. I love my team. I want my team to do well. I want us to win the game. I want us to turn this around. I want him to change my opinion, but I really can't envision it. So I'm going to be completely honest, and I'm going to say we lose this one 2-1. I know. But I honestly cannot see us winning this game. I can't. I honestly can't see us winning the Villa or the Leicester City game based on what I've seen in the last two performances. I feel that both Villa and Leicester have potentially more players or better squads than Brighton and Palace, and I think more dangerous players. And I honestly can see us not getting any points from the next 2 games.
Okay.
Hope I'm wrong.
Lottie, Pickled Onion Crew, G got my back. Jamie, I'm going to keep saying 3-0 on Monday. I will be right. You guys know I have 3 Gunners in my FPL. So do I. But I think I might use my wild card and change that whole team over the next couple of days. Calvin, I think we get beat by Villa, but to be optimistic and be a fan, I will say 2-2.
Mm-hmm.
Chris, 3-0 for me. Better a few past Martinez and shut him up for good. Keith, Lottie, no, just no.
That's the pickled onion stuff.
FPL deadline is Friday at 6:30 UK time as the Arsenal play 8 PM that night. So, these have all been warned, and I was going to come on to it. And just to say, sorry, Swarat, who is not in the chat tonight, he's had an earlier night tonight, did message me earlier on and ask about Lacazette. And hopefully the fact, Swarat, that we've put them in both our predicted lineups shows that we think he deserves a start.
Yeah.
Keith, you lost the poll.
Yeah. Pickled Onion Crew.
We'll do a new poll soon on something else. We'll have a bit of fun that way. Right, G, my voice is going.
Yeah.
So I think we should be going.
Yeah.
So on that, do you want to do the socials for us?
Yeah, definitely.
Anybody has any questions or comments, drop them in the chat now and we'll come back to them at the end.
Definitely. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this at a later day of time. Massively appreciate the support. If you haven't subscribed already, please do subscribe to the channel. And please do get as many of your friends, family, work colleagues, etc. subscribe to the channel so we can build as a platform. And, just to remember, we all have opinions and no opinion is right or wrong. They're just opinions. We're all entitled to them. And I feel like as long as we're not being disrespectful to one another in any shape, way, or form, I think we're allowed to express them in any kind of which way, we desire. So I really love, doing these shows with Stephen, Lottie, and all of you in the chat, because I feel like, yes, we all have difference of opinions, but we're all very respectful and kind of accommodating of what each other kind of feels or chooses to express. So massive thank for you guys. In terms of our socials, you can follow us on all the kind of usual socials, whether you use them or not. We're on Facebook, which is @CannonChatter. We're on Instagram, which is @Cannon_chatter. And most recently, we joined TikTok, which you can find us at @Cannon_chatter. So if you use any of those, do add us up.
There will be more TikTok stuff once Lottie feels better.
Yeah, no problem. And obviously, most of you know us from Twitter. That's generally where we do a lot of our interaction, even though we're on other sites. But yeah, if you're not following the Twitter main account, you should be. Please do it straight away as soon as the show's finished, and that is @CannonChatter. If you want to follow Stephen, you can follow him at @SBCannonChatter. If you want to follow Lottie, that is @Lottie_B. That's with 2 T's and 2 I's. I don't. Oh, what's the end part to that?
Because somebody beat her to it.
Somebody beat her to it. Okay, so please do follow Lottie. She's not with us, but I know she's in the chat. Wishing you the best of health, Lottie. Get better soon. And obviously, if you want to follow myself, @GTalksArsenal. And yes, if you want to purchase any of our merchandise, obviously we're both kind of rocking the Cannon Chatter t-shirts, hoodies in several different colors. Obviously, just email info@cannonchatter.com or DM Stephen at SBCannonchatter on Twitter, and then we can sort that out for you and give you any details you need to know. And most importantly, obviously, make sure you do subscribe, you do turn on those notifications, and you hit that like button. We've got obviously lots of content that we do anyway in terms of reviews, in terms of previews and review shows. The Lottie show, most of you, or hopefully most of you, would have first seen the first ever show. That is due to make a return in the near future, and we've also got some other shows in the pipeline as well, which should hopefully be really interesting. So do subscribe, do turn on the notifications, and do hit the like button, because we've got some really good content already, but we do intend on adding to that in the near future. And, you know, we don't want you guys to miss out on it. But yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, just to give you sort of a quick update on that, we will be back on Monday night with our review show for the Villa game. Tomorrow night, I will put up another one of the fans' favourites, just to give you something to watch tomorrow night before the game on Friday. So that'll go up tomorrow night. Monday night review show. Potentially, or Monday night, we'll also touch on the Leeds game on Tuesday night. We'll have a chat about it.
Yeah.
There may be something on Wednesday night. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see potentially whether we have a new show ready to launch or whether the Lottie show's ready to come back on Wednesday night. We'll see how that goes. If not, we'll maybe just drop another fans' favourites. And then next Friday night, mark it in your diaries. We have something special planned next Friday night, and you do not want to miss it. I'm excited about that one.
Exciting.
It's going to be really good. So last couple of comments, and then we will say goodnight. Lottie, that's made me smile for the first time in 2 days. Pickled onion monster munch. Go away, Lottie. Pickled onion crew are losers, but what else? Well said, Keith. Love you too, Keith.
Keith.
Thanks to the round table, everyone. Quality over quantity. Come on, you Gunners. Have a good rest of the week for you. Stay safe as you can. Pickled onion always. From Calvin. Yes, Calvin from Lottie. Calvin. Right. G.
That's it.
Any last words?
You know what? Boy, whether you're Arteta in or you're out, we're all Gooners, innit? And we all love the Arsenal, and we all want Arsenal to do well. There's no agendas here. It's just opinions, and it's, you know, good vibes, love, and all of that. So yeah, I'm quite tired. I've got an early morning rise in the morning. So yeah, I'm just gonna say good night. And let's hope Arsenal, you know, can lift our spirits come the end of the week. But yeah, have a good evening, everyone. Have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you on Monday of next week.
Thank you. For me, I'm done. Good night. God bless. Let's win on Friday. See you Monday.
Peace.